Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt man! All right! Episode 88 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Nikki and Kyle from Machine Gun Graphics in North Carolina. Let's go! Shirt show!
Hey there, babe.
Hey, look at that hotel room.
I literally just made it back.
Well, how's my little Disney princess?
Oh, God. I mean, it is what it is, you know?
I thought for sure you were going to have like a Mickey Mouse hat on or something.
You want me to put Mickey ears on?
Yeah.
Actually, right next to me is my daughter's fucking headband. Is this better?
There we go. Yeah. I mean, that's... Oh, my God.
You like this?
Yeah, please do the show like this.
My
Please
bald
do.
head and my fucking ears.
Yeah, you've got to...
Hold on 1 second. I'll do better.
Are those
Okay.
donuts?
Yeah, they're donuts.
Okay. Yeah. You got to go with that. So,
Today we were at Magic Kingdom and
yuck.
literally like 20 minutes ago, just got off the Little Mermaid ride. Hauled ass out of Magic Kingdom, got to the buses, got on the bus, got back to my resort, got in the room, put the laptop on, and I'm here. Like, I'm probably sweaty still from like hauling ass to get here.
Are you ready for this? Are you ready? I've got something. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I've never been to Disney.
You're okay. I've been the last 4 years in a row.
That's partially true. I've been to Disneyland in LA when I was...
I don't know if that's not the same.
It's not the same. And also it was when I was something like 5. So, 100 years ago.
You didn't remember that shit either.
No, but I've never been. I hear everybody talks about it all the time. Magic Kingdom, this and that.
There's like the thing that I like is the amount of effort that like the staff puts in with creating the rides and the attention to detail. Like if you go to like Star Wars, I think it's at Hollywood Studios, that it's just like everything. Like the fucking fire hydrants look like they're from Star Wars. Like the ground, like every little detail on handrails, everything is like straight up brings you to that world. It's not like just fucking blacktop and then there's like some rides over here and some rides over here. It's like the shit is dialed, and that stuff like interests me. You know what I mean? And then just being in our world, like the merch and stuff, like every single area has like its own merch, and you can like check out all the details and all the things that they go into. And I don't know, that shit's kind of cool. So like I'm the dad that just walks around with like I literally had a backpack on. I had the popcorn thing on. I had carried my daughter's like fucking backpack, and I don't ride rides either. So I just like walk around and pay for everything. So like, that's my Disney experience.
And it's like $1,000 a day minimum, because you probably have spent like those shirts you were talking about are probably crazy expensive. And then that fucking ridiculous donut ears thing you have right there. How much?
These are from like 3 years ago, but yeah, they buy them every year. Mm-hmm. We got up this morning, had breakfast. That was like probably $160.
Like a buffet thing or something.
Yeah. And then it was cold today here in Florida. So my daughter didn't pack a sweater. So we immediately got to Magic Kingdom. I bought her a hoodie, and that hoodie was $75.
Yeah. She didn't pack a sweater on purpose.
Yeah. And then just buying 2 waters and popcorn was like $20. So yeah, it's easy, like pretty close to, $500 to $800 or so bucks a day. And just like,
not including the hotel, you mean?
No, this is just like extra money you need to have on here.
I will never go there. I forgot to mention this when we got back from Long Beach and stuff, but remember Alan was handing out stickers?
Mm-hmm.
I have this one.
Yeah. The funny thing is Alan was talking to me about how he was starting that sticker company. Yeah. I want to hit him up and have him send me a bunch of them to show on the show, because Alan is fucking the man. So
hilarious. Like, so Alan from Proper, we should say.
Yeah, Proper Shop. Yeah.
Texas. Yeah. And you know what sucks is like I saw a lot of people there, and a lot of people I only saw at the happy hour, and I wanted to talk to them more, but I was like bouncing around, being pulled in different directions, and and I can't even remember really honestly like who I talked to, barely.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy. But so if I didn't have a chance to talk to you when I was there, we're going to have another happy hour, and this time it's going to be a happy day,
a whole day
and night. Like
we're going to just get an Airbnb and invite everyone over for a sleepover.
Right. It's going to be like one of those.
Maybe a key party.
Yeah. Pack a bag. Bring no
bring
dump.
the lubes, all the stuff. Snacks. Lots of water.
What's going on, man? Like, I tell you this, I miss my angel. No, not
She's
you.
Not home yet?
I thought you were looking at me like I was talking about you. No, she's not home yet.
When's she coming back?
So update, Joanne's dad is doing great. He's home from the hospital, but he has I know it's really great. But he has another procedure next week. And so she's going to hang out there a little bit longer and then come home. I think next weekend is how it's going to work out. But yeah, crazy.
I'm glad. I'm glad she got the chance to get there and hang out with him and see him and all that stuff. That's something, you never want to get that call, but when you get that call and it works out and you get to go like say, hey, and
right. Well, she is doing so much more than that too, because they're exercising together. She's like shoveling the driveway because it snows every like day, a foot or something there. And then, going to the grocery store, getting the proper diet. He loves hot dogs and no more hot dogs. I know, Dylan, I know it's rough. One day that's going to be us. One day we're going to have to cut the hot dogs out, the boiled hot dogs. So the last time I talked to you, you were stressed because you were getting a snowstorm like the day or night of whatever you were supposed to fly out of there. And then Lindsay was like, no, we're driving. And you're like, no, we're not. And, I had to calm you down.
Yeah. Well, we were having an argument about, because we got a big snowstorm in New York. It was mostly ice is what it was.
It was here and then it went to you.
Yeah. And then we kind of got some snow, but it wasn't anything crazy, but it was mostly just like thick ass ice. And she called me the day before and was like, hey, we should just drive. Like, just come home now. We'll drive to Florida. I was like, fuck that. It is like 20 something hours to get there. And that's without stopping. That's like, we have 2 kids in the car. There's no way they're going to sit still.
Yeah, even if your flight was delayed for almost 2 days, no, 1 day.
I'd rather have that shit delayed for like 4 days and then still fly.
Right.
I've done that drive too many times. Like when I lived in Atlanta, I drove home back and forth so many times nonstop. It sucked so bad.
And it's past Atlanta. Like Atlanta's,
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
More
it's like,
than that.
Just that drive was 15 hours and it sucked every time.
Right.
So when it got actually closer to getting on the airplane, we got delayed like 45 minutes and I was like, oh God, here it goes. Like it's going to just delay to cancel. And I'm never going to hear the end of it. How I ruined the trip. Mm-hmm. And then luckily it only got delayed the 45 minutes, but then we got on the plane and we sat on the plane for 2 hours before it moved.
What? That doesn't make sense.
The fucking like gas, like I guess the flap that opens when they like fill the plane with gas wouldn't open. So they were like, oh, technical difficulties. Like we'll get it figured out. And then we sat on the runway for whatever, like 2 hours.
That's the worst. I would rather be off the plane.
Yeah.
Doing something. So what is was it a direct flight at least?
Yeah,
or did you
direct flight. We didn't get to the hotel room, not last night, the night before until 2 a.m.
What's with you and 2 a.m?
Just what happens.
Stuff like, how can you tell when 2 screens are mad at each other?
Oh God, this is a Scott joke, isn't it?
How did you fucking know that? But yes.
Because it's a screen brain joke.
Yeah. So
know.
Did you hear me?
You can feel it. You can feel the tension.
Beautiful. Yes.
Is that really it?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice one, Dylan.
Yeah.
Because I read that and I didn't know the answer.
Well, there's only so many options, you know?
No, that's just, you're a little smarter than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Next.
How do you measure the magnitude What? You got something?
Okay, so you go, then I go, you go, I go. Okay, sure, we could do this.
Normally it's only one. Okay. How do you measure the magnitude of the pun in a dad joke?
Something about a Richter scale. But not Richter. Dichter.
With a dictograph, Andy? This is a PG show.
What is
it? With a seismograph. Like you're sighing because it's a bad dad joke?
I like mine better.
Yeah, I like yours better actually too. Definitely dictograph. God damn.
What did the armed man yell when he walked into the real estate agency? Don't get this one too. Pretend you don't know.
No, hold on. I want to get it. What is it?
Should I say it?
Yeah, say it. I know it though.
Nobody move.
Yeah, nobody move.
All right, you got one more? If you don't, I've got this. I've got this guy queued up.
I really don't want to hear that, honestly.
Too bad.
I saw a man standing on one leg at an ATM. I asked him what he was doing. He said, just checking my balance.
So fucking stupid.
Did you pick up the laugh?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, unfortunately. You're teasing me.
God, that was loud.
That's because I pulled the mic right to my face.
Holy shit. Nobody's going to like that. Nobody. It all starts with the screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com. Frank.
What are you doing? Fucking start over.
I was sounding out the F, and then I fucked up. I fucked it up.
Okay, start over.
F.
Rank.com.
Okay. Or
greatfuckingscreens.com.
Damn straight.
You
know, cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will help you keep your screens and your shop clean. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay.
It's the easiest way.
Damn straight.
Fuck yeah, it is. Well, speaking of EasyWay being the easiest way, two things. One, I cleaned out underneath the washout booth the other day and got rid of all other chemicals other than EasyWay. We had some good old shit under there, and I was like, "Fuck this shit! Get this out of here. We're never switching back. We're never using this." So got all the old stuff out, and then listened to a little, our good buds at the Printavo podcast the other day, and seems like they said it's the easiest way on their podcast when they were talking about
it. They might have, yeah.
Huh.
Looks like they owe you $1.
Like, we sue them, or what do we do? Legal action?
Yeah. You guys, you better lawyer up.
No, you know what, Steven and Bruce, you can go ahead and say it because it's true. It's the easiest way. It's just, we're all on the same team.
It rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that podcast, that episode, kicks fucking ass. Whoever they were talking to, I can't remember. But that girl,
so much ass, I can't remember anything about it.
Okay, hold on. Because I got to say it. I got to say it. Why won't...
So fucking Disney right now.
Darn it. It doesn't, why don't... Bruce, Steven, label your shit better.
We love those guys.
I'm sorry, this is taking me a minute, everybody, because I really want it. It's important. I don't know. Ugh.
Pull it up. Take your time. We got editing power.
Man, it doesn't say anything about it. Are they on YouTube or something like this?
Yeah, YouTube is what you should be looking at.
No, I'm just looking at podcasts.
Shauna Feddersen, thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, so it was Shauna from Game Day Couture. Great.
Let's just play the whole podcast. Just hold the mic up. We'll just do
and that'll be our podcast.
Hour and a half, yeah.
Okay, cool. It was a great podcast because we talked about... Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, we want to support our friends, and you should go check out that show as well.
Right. So Next, we have Action Engineering. They make a ton of accessories printers need. Go to actionengineering.com to have a look, and then use Shirt Show at checkout and get a one-time discount of 15% off.
Yes.
Have you always had that bow tie?
It's not a bow tie. It's another headband.
Oh, that's right. Dylan, Monarch Color, they make ink that does what it's supposed to do.
True. SmartColor.com.
Yeah, your internet sucks.
What? It looks totally fine over here.
Learn more at monarchcolor.com. Ink better, print better, be better.
Live Moss.
Monarch.
Is it working?
Yeah, I guess. Not really very well.
Not
my problem.
Am I cutting in and out?
A little bit, yeah.
I don't want that.
You can lean back just a little bit, though. We got like a super close up.
You don't like this?
Yeah. Today we are chatting with Nikki and Kyle from Machine Gun Graphics in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I wonder if they are Machine Gun Kelly fans, like Machine Gun Graphics, Machine Gun Kelly, MGK,
I kind of thought it.
MGG. I don't know. Well, why Machine Gun then? Or are we gonna find out? Let's find out. Are we recording even? Who knows?
Nikki went home to go get her Disney ears. So
I take it you live pretty close to the shop.
Oh yeah, we literally live like 5 minutes away. We had a pretty big snowstorm. I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. I just walked to work because I had like plumbing shit to do for the new auto reclaim that we got installed. So I was like, fuck it, I got to walk to work. I'm going to walk to work in the snow.
Dude, I did that last year, I think it was, and we got like 4 feet of snow. And I lived like a road away.
Yeah.
And I walked, but it was like the most tiring exercise I'd ever done in my life.
Oh, dude,
the snow was like up to my waist, and I just had like really tall boots on, and I was just like, oh. I felt like I was going to die by the time I got there.
We definitely didn't have that amount of snow. Most of what we had was like 2 inches of ice. We had snow, then it melted, then it froze, and it was awful. A lot of car wrecks and a lot of cars on hills that tried to make it but couldn't. So,
well, I think you got the storm that we got, and then it eventually made it your way.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask. So, as far as snow days go, so ours happened on. We knew it was coming. It was going to be a Wednesday, Thursday, like a 2-day event. It wasn't just going to be an overnight thing, and they'll plow it and we're good. And St. Louis, like, can't handle much more than an inch of snow or anything. We just can't.
Yeah.
And so I was going to ask, what do you typically do? Both of you guys typically do. So we knew it was coming. It was forecasted. I closed Wednesday because they said it was kind of coming in first ice, and then Thursday was going to be the snow.
Right.
And so I was like, look, let's just close Wednesday and Thursday, as brutal as that is, because, well, one, we still have rent, we still have utilities, everything. We still have costs, right? And then also, there's salary people, they're paid regardless. And then the hourly people don't get paid at all, and they want to get paid.
Right.
And so it's like a fucking hot mess. And so I decided to close on both of those days because I don't want people to get, on their commute, because you can live 45 minutes. Hell, you could live an hour away in St. Louis. St. Louis is all spread out. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I don't want somebody to get hurt or get in an accident on their way to work. And so we closed, but then comes Friday, and the snow didn't end until like Thursday, end of day. It was like dusk.
Yeah.
And the plows were still like trying to keep up. It was going to take all night. I knew that it would be pretty good by morning, but not perfect. And I had people hitting me up like, hey, are we closed tomorrow? Like, I don't think I can make it, and this kind of thing. But I decided and I was on the fence for a while because, like, look, okay, so what's one more day? It's a Friday, forget it. And we'll just come back next week and it'll all be fine. But I decided to open, and here's why. I opened because I wanted to give the opportunity to those who are hourly to come here and work. If they wanted the hours, find a way and come here and work.
You wanted to risk their lives to get them to work.
It was more, honestly, it was less selfish, and it was more thinking about them, because hey, if we open, then we can print some shirts, we can run. So what ended up happening is we were still down like, I don't know, maybe 10 out of the team, but we had enough people here to run 2 presses, and the people that made it. And we opened up and we actually printed all, until like, I think we shut down maybe an hour early. And by the end of the day, we actually had some melt because it was sunny and all this kind of stuff. It was easy driving home. It was just a little bit tricky coming here, but I'm thinking like people are sort of soft or they've gotten softer because it's just some snow. Like if you just go a little slower, it's all fine.
The problem is people don't know how to drive in it. They don't know how to, like people aren't used to it, don't know how to drive in it. They don't know how to brake. Like it takes different braking. You have to like anticipate an intersection before you get there, because there's a lot of people that just fucking slam on the brakes by the time they get to an intersection. Like if it's snowy or icy, it's like you should brake way before, and you should pump the brakes, not just fucking step on the brakes either, because then you're just going to lock up and slide and everything else.
Yeah,
I usually try and do donuts, but
I'm originally from Florida, and I can drive in snow and ice better than anybody in North Carolina can. So that's pretty sad too. Yeah, I mean it's kind of the same way. We closed. I think we were here. Like it started snowing really bad, probably like midday on, I think that Thursday. It's either Wednesday or Thursday, I don't remember, but we had a major roof leak. So I was outside trying to figure out what it was and where it was coming in and pouring down rain, and it started snowing and started sticking. So we're like, yeah, you guys should probably leave if you want to get home safely. And we closed, and luckily we got one guy. He lives about 20, 30 minutes away, but he lives in the country. So he's got like dirt roads and fucking like gravel roads and shit getting to his house. So there's no way he's getting plowed anytime soon. So he literally got snowed in, and we didn't see him until I think Tuesday, either Monday or Tuesday. I don't remember when, but
yeah, we're used to it. And like, I don't mind driving in it. Like it is what it is. And we got all that heavy ice storm and snow this Thursday before I left to come here. And we still decided to go to dinner and go to a movie that night. Like knowing full well that like when we got out of the movie, it was probably like a shit show outside.
Yeah. I mean, driving in snow is easier than driving in ice. I mean,
this was a mix of both, but
yeah, it's not fun either way, but it's possible.
You just put the 4-wheel drive on and you just go.
Well, it costs for us anyway to shut down. It's over $5,000 a day.
Right.
And so we were shut down for 2 days, lost $10K minimum. I have it budgeted because usually that happens once a year in St. Louis. Didn't happen last year. It hasn't happened for a few years, but it happened here and it was a biggie. So
yeah,
it's $10K. And I'm thinking like most people don't understand that. They don't understand that when a business shuts down, how expensive it is, and they also don't understand how do we use PTO? I mean, those people can. I mean, they can use PTO on a snow day if they want, who are hourly, but all of a sudden they're digging into their PTO and it's February and it's for a snow day. And so I wanted to give them an option. And so we decided to open on Friday. I knew it was the morning commute was just going to be a little rough, not in the main roads, but sort of like in the neighborhoods, sort of like what you were saying. It's the neighborhoods are last to get it. But I don't know. It was pretty good. Everybody was in a decent mood. We printed a bunch of shirts and kind of saved the day, I suppose, on Friday. I thought about just paying everybody for Thursday, because I feel kind of shitty. I don't know what to do about it though. And what do you guys generally do in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure we paid our people. I mean, granted, we've only got 3 employees that work with us, so it wasn't like a huge burden, but we gave them, they didn't show up. So we just were like, it's not your fault that you can't come into work. So we paid them for I think the 1 day.
It's not your fault either though.
Right. It's definitely not our fault either. But, like you said, you feel bad for not being able to kind of have them here doing their thing. So
that's the thing that's weird about employees, that I feel like there's some that just don't care. They're like, okay, cool. Like I get to go home today. Like it's not that big a deal if I don't have the paycheck today. But then there's those people that you have that are like paycheck to paycheck, or they rely on that like weekly. Okay, I know I'm going to get about 35 to 40 hours, and this is the money I have budgeted for like groceries and all this other stuff. And it's like, that's when I feel really bad, is I know I've got like a couple of those employees that like need that money, and you kind of think you're like, well, I don't want to just pay them and then tell everyone else, like, don't worry about it. So I feel like if you're paying people for the day off, like you're paying everybody for the day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Some people like cut them some slack, but yeah, I don't know. It's difficult. I would like to just pay them for certain things, but some days I feel like it's just, there's nothing you can do about it.
Kyle, do you have any, are they hourly or salary?
Yeah, no, they're all hourly. Everybody that we have here is working. They're all hourly. We've got 3 full-time employees here. So we did have my brother. He actually worked here for a little while, for like about 1.5 years, 2 years. He only came in like 3 days a week to kind of help lighten the load a little bit. And but yeah, he was only part-time. But yeah, we got 3 full-time people working here. So
how about you, Dylan? What's your percentage of salary versus
I have one
hourly?
salary?
Just one?
Yeah.
That's you?
No. No, I put Chris on salary years ago because he's my number 2. Like, he runs the company. If I'm not there, he handles a bunch of stuff. He's always there, on time in the morning, and then he leaves at whatever, like 5:30. So it only made sense to make him salary, just because if I'm not there, or like right now I'm at Disney, and it's like he's taking care of everything. So it only makes sense to just be like, all right, like you're going to be on salary. But everybody else, I feel like certain days it's hit or miss, or if it's January, February and it's slow, they're like, well, all right, well, I finished my work. Like, I have nothing to do. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, you can go home if you want to. And then they go home, and it's like, I'm not paying for them. They might put 25, 30 hours in that week. If everybody was salary, it'd be 40 hours.
Yeah.
Whatever. So.
Yeah. I'm debating just moving away from salary, because I think that I kind of think about this every year in January. Yeah, here you go.
What is that? Those aren't Disney ears.
Those are definitely not Disney. I just walked in the door and I was like, what in the hell is going on?
I mean, I like it.
Yeah, I guess it's an owl, maybe.
It's an owl. I don't know where my ears are at, but
All the way home and couldn't find her ears.
All the way home and came back with a fucking owl hat.
That's the Disney that's in Virginia. It's not a mouse, it's an owl.
Yeah.
Virginia Beach.
Oh yeah.
It's Disney's house.
Yes, Disney.
She gives out owl hats.
I just felt left out.
Okay. Well, I took these off because I don't really want to wear them. I had this on before you guys got here. I had this and then this.
That's a good look.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think you should do that.
Like a Chippendale?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the shirt,
Yeah.
t-shirt right there.
So I know you guys recently did a rock podcast. Did you guys talk about like your whole thing with them?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much like, they started out. It pretty much started asking how we got started in printing and stuff, and I literally kept talking for 45 minutes, and then Ross was eventually like, "So wrapping that up, let's move on to what you're doing now." So it was funny.
I don't think anybody realizes how young you actually started printing, though, and like what the DIY level is that you started. So when you tell people that, they're kind of shocked at like where you actually started versus like where you're at now too.
Okay, so do that all over again. And go.
One day I was at a Machine Gun Kelly concert.
Oh God, no, dude! I went to Starbucks one morning, and I was wearing a Machine Gun Graphics hoodie, and one of the baristas looked at it and was like, "Oh, fuck you." I'm like, "What did I do?" He looked at me. He was like, "Oh, it's Machine Gun Graphics." I thought it said Machine Gun Kelly. I was like, "Oh, absolutely fucking not."
Now you guys got to change your name. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but no, it's funny. I was actually cleaning up today, and I came across the original like old hand cut stencils that I did. I can never remember like what year it actually was that I started, but the stencil was dated 1997. So
Wow.
I felt really fucking old when I saw that.
That was back when I started.
It's crazy. Like looking back at everything and seeing, what I actually did. Cause it was fucking, I forget the name of the brand, but it was like some big sheet of stencil that you could buy at Walmart. And, yeah, X-Acto knife, cutting out the logo and using.
Did you used to make stencils, or was that just you making a stencil for that logo?
No, that's the first thing that I did was I think I have like 4 stencils total that I made. So it was like literally just acrylic paint, and what they called a spouncer was the name of the little tool that I used. It was like this little wooden dowel that had a blue sponge on the end of it, and you just dab it on there. Me
and Lindsay's dad used to make stencils. We made a shitload when I was living at their house. Can't remember what we used to buy, but there was something we used to buy that always had the perfect, like, the weight of cardboard for stencils. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's like that mid-weight, thicker cardboard you can get. Yeah. And we were making a shitload of stencils just out of like anything. Like I was making like Abraham Lincoln and like, I don't know, like all these other things. And it's cool because like you can start to layer them too. Like a lot of people think of a stencil as like just like one, but like it's cool to do. It's kind of like screen printing, you know what I mean? Like you do a base and then you do like other colors and you get like random like weights to like weigh down all the points so that when you spray, you don't get underspray. Yeah. So we were making like a ton of really cool stencils. And then that kind of was like, it wasn't at all like my way into screen printing, but it was kind of like right before that, you know what I mean? And then we started making merch for the band and stuff. But why did you get involved? I mean, it's the same story that I've heard so many people tell. Is like, you know, I was in a shitty fucking ska band at the time. Oh, cool. And, you playing fucking horns or something? No, I was the bass player. Okay. My dad was a bass player, so he kind of taught me a couple things here and there. And then from there, I just ran with it. But yeah, we were a fucking, it's more of like a ska punk band. We didn't have horns, so it was like we played ska, but without horns. It was, you know, just a lot of ding, 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 ding. Exactly, yeah. Because we didn't know horn players, so we're like, we like ska, so let's just be a ska band. So yeah, we needed merchandise, and we had ordered work shirts from some online company that was selling blank work shirts. You get the patches and, you know, the name and the company and all that kind of shit. And I reached out to a couple of shops to try and figure out how much it was going to cost. And I think looking back, they were going to charge us like $9 a piece to print provided apparel. This was in 1997. And I'm like, that's really fucking expensive. So like, I'm just going to figure out how to do it myself. And then, you know, from there, I hand cut stencil, and then, moved on from there. I had the, what they call a thermofax machine. It's what tattoo artists use to make their stencil for your tattoos, or they, you know, put it on you. It's that purple thing. It's essentially like the express screen process, but it goes through this little roller and whatever. And then you peel it off, and then you tape it to this plastic frame, and then actually screen print with it. I used to buy all of my inks and stuff like that from Dick Blick. I didn't know screen printing suppliers existed. I didn't really know anything like that existed outside of art supply places and things like that. So starting out with acrylic paint and using water-based inks, like I think Permaset was what I used for the first like year of printing. Was all I would order the Permaset inks, and I'd use an iron to cure them or to dry them, and then you put them in the dryer and finish curing them in the dryer, like tumble dry. Half the time they just come out wet, and just you have to peel it off the other shirts that are in there. And I lost a lot of shirts when I started. On that stencil, do you just lay it on the shirt? Like it's a piece of paper, let's say you lay it on the shirt, print it once, and then it sticks to the back of the screen? Well, I wasn't even using a screen at the time. It was literally, it was a sheet of plastic, like stencil material. So I just used it, like I would tape it down and then use acrylic paint on top of it. So basically just, it went where it was. So I didn't even know screens were a thing. Like, I literally just used the open area of the stencil as my, you know. Once, like long time ago, I got an order. I didn't have a numbering press, or I didn't have a heat press or any vinyl or anything like that. I didn't even know it existed. Yeah. And they sold these stencils that were just numbers, right? Yeah. Yeah. And you popped out the middle, and then you put the number on the shirt. You could lay, like, let's say the number was, 25. You put that on the shirt, bring your screen down and print it, and then it stuck to the back of the screen. And you can either print in 25 again or just peel it off and then go to your next number. It was terrible way to do it, really, but I mean, it worked. Yeah, that's not a very effective way to do it, but yeah, it definitely worked. I used those many, many times outside of, whenever I didn't want to buy the actual, heat press numbers or whatever from stalls. I was like, like they were so cheap to buy, like 1,000 of them. I'm like, I'll just buy that and screen print numbers anytime I needed to. But
luckily I didn't really get into the whole numbering realm of screen printing.
We did, for a little bit because it makes, you can make money at it. You can, but it's very tedious. People don't understand how hard it is that have never done it, that it really is hard because if you have a team, you have size large and that has to get this name and this number. And then sometimes even the same number on the back that's on the front. And believe me, I've put the wrong number on the front and the back or the wrong name on the wrong. You start going down a list and you get in this groove and you're like, oh shit. Next thing you know, you ruin 3 shirts and the customer doesn't understand. Like, why? I don't get it. Like I told you, it's a size large and it's number, 25. What's wrong with you? But it's actually kind of hard. And so I got out of that because it was never fun. It was just more of like, it wasn't graphic tees,
Right.
It was just doing names and numbers and that got old quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I looked, whenever I did have, customers that did want that, I looked into getting that Brown numbering press, one of the only good things Brown really ever made.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was brilliant. It had like the platen that was like that. And then you do one number here, then move the platen like that and do another number there. I mean, it was a cool concept.
Wasn't it a glass platen too?
Yeah. It was like, light? I think it was plexiglass with light on it. Yeah.
A light underneath so totally you can kind of see. Yeah, it's weird, but
so weird. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. That was one of the only good things that Brown really ever made. And
Brown's watching like, fuck.
Hey, I had a Brown master print 6-color, 6.6. I mean, I used that thing for years.
I had a Brown dryer for a really long time.
They make pretty decent dryers. I hear their Firefly dryer is pretty good. I don't know. I don't really look into Brown.
I've never printed on one, but I saw one just at the show a month ago. Did you guys see Brown over there?
The Electra print.
Yeah, I saw it. I'm like, I don't even know what it looks like. It looks like no other
Brown.
press.
Brown, if you are listening, it's not necessarily your press. It's that your fucking stuff is the color brown.
Yeah.
Change that shit up.
I mean, it's like brown and red and like, I mean, they kind of took over like Harco and everything back in the day. And it's like Harco presses. I remember from way back in the day, they made some fantastic presses. Like I had worked on one a long, long time ago, but I
don't know if the press printed like kick-ass prints. I don't care what color it is. I mean,
absolutely.
So UPS is brown. It's a brown truck. Is that bad? They seem pretty successful.
Yeah, but nobody really gives a shit about UPS. They care about their packages showing up at their door.
Yeah. So like I said, so if the press printed, like if it was awesome, and maybe it is, I don't know.
All right. Well, I don't want to go on a fucking bad.
I do. Let's argue. Let's argue about. We got to argue about this.
Let's do the dirt.
No, I like Brown. I'm not knocking Brown. It's the color, dudes. Like I'm just saying, there's shops that like, they buy like an M&R, they buy a rock, and then they're like painting accent walls in their shop like green or blue. It's like, you want to paint fucking shit brown walls in your shop? Nobody does that.
Yeah. So if there's like the next press manufacturer that comes along, you can't use blue, can't use green, can't use brown, can't use like, what's Anatol, like a reddish.
Red.
What are you going to do? Orange is, there's a caps press that's orange. Yep. What's left?
Take teal. Purple.
Teal is workhorse, no?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're more of a
teal and gray.
They're still a little greenish blue. Yeah.
You know what bugs me about Workhorse is I had one and their logo is out of registration. Like I know it's like kind of like a horse and then there's like white accent.
Isn't it a sticker?
Well, it's like the logo they put on the press and it's got like the horse outline and then there's like supposed to be like a white drop shadow or something. It just looks like it's out of registration. It's like that's a bad fucking logo on the press.
Bad sign.
Go upstairs and look right now.
Don't do it.
Progressive.
Never mind.
Which that logo was killer. It was a fucking falcon with its wings spread wide open. I think it's awesome. But it was essentially a fucking green. It was a fucking sportsman painted green. That's all it was. So
yeah, I agree. All right, so we're going to shorten the story, but you started because of the band.
Yeah, so we needed we needed shorts, we needed shirts. And
so we were band and we really fucking needed shorts.
So, doing, making the stencils and then going into the Thermofax stuff. And I started doing research. I mean, it's funny because like, shit, I keep kicking the desk. The fucking like YouTube did not exist when I started. And it's like, I'm so envious of people now that are like, oh, I want to learn how to screen print t-shirts. I'll just go watch one of the like 4.6 million videos on how to print a t-shirt. You know, it's 9 times out of 10, not the right way to do it, but.
So exactly. Like, I think
it's there.
So I started without YouTube as well. And I'm so glad I did, because Absolutely. I learned what I would call it the hard way, which is just,
I walked uphill both ways to get to the shop.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is definitely those kind of stories that me and Andy are going to be talking about.
100%. You know, like I didn't understand the concept of flashing. You know, my first job I got paid to print, I ruined, you know, because I couldn't figure out, I didn't have a flash. And I was just totally ignorant of it. All I would have had to done back then is just Google like what am I doing wrong? And then, or even just go into a Facebook group. And like you said, somebody's going to tell you there's going to be a lot of wrong answers, but there's going to be a right one usually too, or something close.
I would almost rather learn the hard way than go to a Facebook group and ask a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things like I had like, I barely had any reference material. Like I remember going to the library one time just to see if there were books on how to screen print. And, you know, the town that I lived in, it wasn't like, we didn't really have a very big library. I lived in a suburb of Tampa, Florida called Brandon. It was a, you know, small growing area, but like there was nothing there. Like the internet was a thing. So thankfully there was that, but I didn't know what a flash dryer was. I was on Dick Blick's website and they sold AWT, that American World Trade equipment company. They sold AWT equipment. So I'm like, I'm looking at it. I see like flash dryer and conveyor dryer. I'm like, I don't know the difference. Like, I don't know what it is because it doesn't say what it does. It just says flash dryer, conveyor dryer. So I don't buy that because I think the flash dryer, when I looked at it, it was like $400. I'm like, I'm fucking like 16 years old. How the hell am I going to spend $400 on something called a flash dryer? So I just knew, you know, I got into figuring out what plastisol inks were. So I was like, oh, these are cool. They don't, you know, it doesn't dry in your screen in like 2.5 seconds. So I'm like, all right, I'll look into plastisol. So I looked into it and started printing with plastisols. And I'm like, I need a heat source. So I go into my kitchen and I look up on our top of our refrigerator and we have one of those flat top hamburger grills, right? And this is the story that apparently like everybody loves to hear. So I'm like, oh, it goes up to 450 degrees. So cool. Let's try this. So I literally turned it all the way up, flipped it upside down where the handles kept it about that high off. It was about, you know, 3 inches off the counter or the work table that I was working on. So I literally just put the shirts underneath that for about 5 minutes. The first one came out a
5 minutes.
A little too well done. The black
you put
shirt,
it on and it's just like fucking crispy.
the black shirt turned brown because it was literally just fell apart as soon as I moved it. I'm like, all right, so less time then. So I eventually figured out using a fucking hamburger grill how to cure my ink. And then whenever I did start working with, you know, flash dryers, I'm like, oh, I was flash curing my inks this way. It was just a hamburger grill. And
so all those DIY shops out there, George Foreman Grill is
the George Foreman Flash.
It was, and now they actually make like a family size one. I think it's like, we actually have one at our house and it's like 18, it's like 18 by 18.
Just buy the Blackstone. Fuck it. Yeah. You can make burgers and cure your shirts.
Well, the first few shirts that I actually made, because I mean, it was a used hamburger grill. Like my parents made hamburgers on a regular basis. So the first few shirts that came out from my shop at the time, which was my bedroom, they smelled like hamburger grease.
Perfect.
So I think at that time it had been about 2 years after I actually started printing whenever I started doing it that way.
So as long as you're printing for like hamburger joints, then you're
good. They were cool with it. Yeah.
They're pre-scented. There's like fucking drippings all over them.
It's crazy how a lot of us start, you know, and I was at dinner last night with a friend and we were talking about, he said that it takes money to make money. And I said, no, it doesn't. And we went back and forth for like a half hour about that because it actually does take a little bit of money to make money. But I think that if you want to start a business in the United States and you have zero money, you can. And it will take you way longer than if you had like an angel investor or if your dad gave you $100K, you know, and you had that sort of privilege, I guess, you know, but if you don't have any money, you can still start a business in America. And it's very slow, like the way I did, because I didn't have any money. It was very, very slow out of the gate. You know, it took me years to get it going because like you, I didn't have enough money. The flash, when I wanted to buy the one I wanted, I think was $600. I didn't have $600. And so when I found out that's how, because I'm an idiot. I tried a hairdryer first, like this. I could have stood there for a week and it wouldn't have cured it.
You don't use a hairdryer, use a George Foreman.
Well, you know, we try everything. Like, I don't know, will it flash it kind of maybe enough anyways, but it didn't. And so I went and I went to my supplier. We had one in St. Louis and I drove there. We don't anymore, but I drove there and I'm like, I worked a deal, you know, like I think I had $100 and I'm like, look, can you give me terms? I give you this $100 and promise, you know, like I'm good for it. And I mean, I got lucky. And so, yeah, it takes money to make money, but also I guess you could put it on a credit card, you know, like if you have any sort of decent credit, you're shaking your head no, but that's how I did that. I really did do it. And because otherwise you have no other choice. And I got these orders and I was curing shirts. I got an order for, I want to say like 3,000, it's called the Magic House here in St. Louis. It's like a, what would you call it? It's like if you're kids, you go to a field trip there and they have all kinds of cool shit there. It's called the Magic
David
House.
Copperfield's house.
They don't really do magic. It's just magical, like the Magic Kingdom. And so,
is there a white van parked out front of this house?
Puppies.
No. This is a great place. And they order a lot of shirts. And so we got this order and it was for 3,000 shirts. And I was going to print this on my manual with a flash, you know, and cure them with the flash. And I did, but I realized, you know, how great it would be like, wow, if I just had a dryer, you know, that'd be the coolest thing in the whole world. And so you kind of start where you have to start and then you'll run into an order or you'll run into enough orders or you eat enough fucking ramen or whatever. And then eventually then you go and buy a dryer. And so it's way slower than saying, okay, I'll buy a dryer and I'll buy a flash and I'll buy a light table. I'll buy all this shit right away. Sure. That'd be better. But you do what you got to do. And we bootstrapped it. And that's how I started. I started with nothing, you know, basically. And I sold like shit. Like I had a camera from college that I loved and I went and sold it, you know, to pay for my screen printing business. I sold stuff that I want of mine. You know, liquidated, like a liquidation sale to buy screen printing equipment.
I mean, I had actually the drummer in the band that we were, you know, doing whenever I first started, he was working a pretty good job. And I was like trying to figure out what I was going to what to buy and all this other stuff. And this is when I bought that Thermofax machine. He's like, hey, I can loan you like $500 if you want to buy this stuff. And I mean, he did. And that was like the first step to, you know, actually getting into figuring out what I was doing. Cause I used to like hand build my own screens. Like I never bought a pre-built screen until after printing for like 8 years. I've literally built my own screens for 6 years after. Did
you have some sort of stretching table or did you staple it onto wood?
No, it was, I was buying them from Dick Blick. So it was like, at that point you could buy like pieces of wood to make whatever size screen you wanted. So say you wanted a 20 by 24 screen, you would buy 2 20-inch pieces of wood and 2 24-inch pieces of wood. So you could like mix and match or whatever. So I think I was making 12 by 19 frames at the time. So I was buying, you know, these pieces of wood, literally gluing them together. They weren't even, they weren't level.
They would warp and stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They weren't even treated wood. So it was like the worst thing you could possibly do, but it had grooves routed out in the backside of it. So you would use they called it spline. It's essentially how you screen a screen door, where you put You put your mesh on top of it. Yeah, you put your mesh on top of it, and then you roll the spline into the screen all the way around. So, I mean, I think I don't think I could even measure the tension of the screen with how loose those frames were. But that's when I started getting into using emulsion and stuff like that, was whenever I had all those frames. So, but that, getting him having him, loan me the money to do that with, it was great to be able to buy that kind of stuff. And I paid him back, tenfold over the years. Like, I literally gave him button making machines and old screen printing equipment, because he said he wanted to learn how to screen print. So I literally just give him my old stuff. But yeah, I mean, doing things like that really, helps you appreciate where you're at now.
Oh, for sure. I feel like you can definitely DIY for a really long time, and you don't need, like, I agree with Andy, like, you don't need to spend money to make money in the beginning. I think that's just more DIY until you can't anymore kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then eventually you get to a point where, like, you definitely got to spend money to make money, especially like if you're going from manual to auto. Mm-hmm. You're like, okay, I can keep being a manual, but I'm kind of capped on like how much I can actually make, because I can only produce so many things in so much time. And then eventually you're like, okay, if I spend X amount of dollars getting auto, I can do this much more stuff in this amount of time. And then when you get the auto, you're like, okay, how do I speed up this process to get more stuff done on this machine?
Yeah.
And then it just spirals into, you're definitely spending money to make money. So, like,
I think there's a difference between spending money to make money and having money to make money, or it takes money to make money. You know what I mean?
Let's break down this saying from like 300 years ago.
I think it's, well, but because I wouldn't argue at all. I think I 100% agree. If you spending money to make money is that's a good thing, because if you spend money on an auto, well, you're going to make way more money than if you have even 3 or 4 manuals, and so spending money to make money is true. I'm just
saying at that point, you can't DIY that shit. I mean, somebody probably has, but
I don't want somebody to be, I don't want there to be a barrier because somebody thinks like, oh, I don't have any money, I can't start a business, because I think that you can. I think that you can start a business with very little money.
You can definitely start, but I'm saying it's taking it from the garage to you have your own fucking warehouse. I feel like those are 2 totally different things. Like, yeah, you can keep manually printing forever if that's your niche market and that's what you want to do, that's your business. But I feel like once you get to a certain point, like, you definitely need to like call in the big boys. Like, even me, like, forever, like, I grew up poor, so it was like anything we could possibly do ourselves, like me and my dad or whatever, like, we do that shit first.
Yeah.
But like, it gets to a point too when you're in your life where you like have some money and you got all your processes going, you got everything working, where you look at things and you're like, I really don't want to fucking do that by myself. Like, I really don't want to remodel this bathroom, when it's like, I could do it, but I'd rather spend the money and get it done in 2 days versus me doing it in like 3 years.
And spend that time that you were going to spend on remodeling the bathroom on something else, like on your business, focused on your business.
Yeah.
I think you'd get better return on your time.
That's where we're at right now. Like, we bought this building back in April, and it definitely needs a lot of updating and a lot of upgrades to it that are slowly happening. And ultimately, we're both handy people. We can do a lot of that stuff, but we're just kind of saying, let's bring somebody else in and let them
for sure
make these updates and these changes, because we just don't have time to do it.
We have way more.
I'm saying, like, my dad is definitely the dude where he's like, I could do that. Like, I could do this. I could do that. I'm like, yeah, Dad, I know you could do it, but like, we don't need to fucking do it. Like, it was like when we redid all the offices, like there was a ton of sheetrock we could have done. My dad's like, all right, I'll get the supplies. Like, I can do it. I'm like, Dad, this is literally going to take you like 2 years to do this whole fucking thing. Like, one dude hanging sheetrock, taping, mudding, everything. Like, I can literally hire a crew of like 20 people to come in and they're going to get it done in like a week.
Yeah.
Like, professionally done, fucking everything's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, me and my dad had a saying the entire time we like redid my house, redid the shop, where it's like, I think we said it's character like 100 times a day. There'd be something we'd be doing and it would be like so far like out of whack or like fucked up where we know like we're not professionals, but it looks good. We'd be like, it's character. Like, it's an old building, it's character. And it's like, you can only say it's character so many times because you just don't know what the fuck you're doing. And it's like, we'll make it work. Like it works, it's fine, but like it's character.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel like the spend money to make money thing, I feel like as I get older, I'm more like, I'd rather spend the money and like level up than a DIY till I die, with everything. Like there's a lot of things I'll definitely do, but
yeah.
And as screen printers, we are usually lucky enough to print for a plumber or an electrician.
Oh,
or
hell yeah.
a painter or all this kind of stuff, right? And you just call them.
Yeah.
Yep.
We had a guy at our house a couple months ago because we're going to actually get our bathroom in our house remodeled. And the dude was in there and he was telling us what the quotes were. And I was like, yeah, I'm right down at my shop down the road. He's like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I own a screen printing shop or whatever. He's like, oh, really? And then when he like wrote the quote for me on like what he was going to do, at the bottom, it said possible like $5,000 in trade. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'll trade it.
Yeah.
When he said that, I was like, I will trade as much as you possibly want on this order.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't think you want like $50,000 in trade, but like, I mean,
I usually offer when we do stuff like that, I offer to pay for the materials of whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then
so
do like trade.
Even.
Yeah, do like labor trade or something.
Yeah, I've done that with people too.
Yeah.
But I'll trade anything. Like we've traded like blacktop, we've traded like tree cutting down
anything
at the shop. Like literally, I'll trade you anything. I'm gonna fucking
pizza.
trade.
Barter that shit. Let's do it.
We did barbecue once.
Hell yeah.
We did too.
Nice.
Like a catered barbecue for the shop. I'll trade that shit all day long.
I'm like, always ask. The worst someone's going to say is no.
Yeah. I saw a guy, I won't name names, but I saw a guy once try to trade t-shirts at a screen printing trade show for equipment.
I mean,
I'll trade you like 500 shirts if you take off like for this order. I'm just like, dude.
By the way, I think this is great when you have a customer that comes to you and you want to do trade with them. That's fine. But do you ever have a bartering company call on you? One of those bartering places. So they'll be like, oh, hey, this is Barter St. Louis or whatever. And they'll say, okay, well, you join this bartering group and then it's just full of a bunch of different people. And then you can do something. Like, let's say somebody would come here and they would want, 500 shirts. I would just print them, not get paid, but then I have bartering credit for somewhere else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. I don't like it.
That seems sketchy. Yeah, you didn't seem very excited about it.
Yeah, because let's say you do $1,000 worth of shirts, and then what do I need? I don't know. What if I want something that none of those people in that barter group have right now? Then it just sits there. You know what I mean?
It's kind of worthless at that point.
This is kind of a side thing on that too, but like I get these emails probably a couple times a week where I got one right now. Let me see if it's still in my inbox.
Does it start with the word kindly?
It says, hi, how are you?
Is it about digitizing?
First of all, it says, hi, how's it going? I'm hosting a charity event. So I read that first line and I'm like, I know they want this shit for free. Like that's how they start the sentence. And like, it's probably like a legit thing, but I know they probably sent this to like 30 print shops and they're just going to pick the one that's going to give them like the cheapest deal.
Yeah.
Like, how do you guys handle that? Because a lot of them, I'm just like, I just say like, we don't sponsor anybody. Like
I plan a budget in the beginning of the year for what we will do. And when it's gone, it's gone. And then I also feel like you should choose things that are close to your heart. So you shouldn't necessarily like just give people stuff just to give it to them. You should give to things you're passionate for. But I always let them know, like if they're coming and we don't have the budget for it anymore, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, but unfortunately we've already run out of our budget, for this year on this event. Hit me in January when we create the new budget. Let's get you on the list then.
Yeah.
And they understand.
Nikki, I think that's beautiful. And we do the same thing because I like, this is our community. And we live in this community, we work in this community. And when somebody comes in here and they have an Alzheimer's walk or an epilepsy walk or something like that, and they ask for that discount or sponsorship or whatever it is, then we 100% do. The way we do it is all the shirts aren't free because we were approached so much that would like the bill for that or the expense for that for the year would be a lot. Right. And that's what we tell them too. We say, look, we're approached all the time. We can't help, everybody if we were to give out free shirts. And so here's what we've devised, and this is how it goes. It's like we have this little program where, because normally those shirts have logos on the back and sponsors on the back. And so we'll have logo inclusion of our logos, and then we just print the back for free. And so you buy the shirt, you buy the front, and then the back's no charge. And so that way we can spread the love, to like all of the different walks or whatever it is. And we only do it for those type of charities. We don't do it for like the softball team or whatever that wants just free shirts, to spot. Because a lot of people think like, oh, hey, I have this softball team, sponsor us, and then all these other teams are going to see, your logo on there, and they're going to buy 1 billion shirts. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
First, I don't care about the softball team if they want to buy shirts from us. And then second, what if you guys are out there like being jerks, getting wasted with our, we're shirt
They're doing Molly on the bus on the way to the next game.
Yeah, like I don't want to sponsor that. That's no good. So when I tell them, I'm like, look, we only sponsor,
My favorite is most of these people aren't in my area. These are like people that could be like anywhere. They could be like North Carolina. And they're like, I'm doing a charity event. I'm like, I don't know who you are. But B, my favorite is when like my own fucking school in the town, like is less than a mile from me. They come to me. I don't print for my own school. Like my own school goes somewhere else. Like they, for some reason, will not work with me. Probably because I went there a horrible.
They want free stuff.
They're like, when you graduated, like we're done with him.
Oh, they're like, thank God. Like I literally had certain teachers that just passed me to get me the fuck out of school. Like I definitely didn't deserve that 65. But anyway, like like a team from the school will come to me and be like, hey, will you spend, like we'll put you in the brochure, like local, whatever, your local business. It's like $500 to be in the brochure. I'm like, you guys literally don't order from me. You go to a town away from me to order, but you still come to me and you want me to like spend money to like support you guys. And I'm just
We've had the same thing. I'm definitely, and you know what? I'm more willing to help out people like that when they do work for us too.
Oh yeah. If they're a customer, fuck yeah. Whatever.
But we get the same thing all the time. People that we've tried to work with and they just want to stick to whatever they've been doing, but they want to approach us and they want free stuff. I'm like,
but you love it when they're like, and we're a nonprofit. And I'm like, but
that means
not.
Nothing. You still have to pay taxes.
We're for profit here. I don't know.
My favorite is when they tell me that they're nonprofit and they need to take their sales tax off of their invoice. And I'm like, no, actually, that's not how that works. You have to pay your sales tax and then you have to ask for it back every 6 months. In North Carolina, that's how it works anyways.
We have sales tax battles here too with people trying to get around the tax. I'm like, look, I'm not keeping it. Like, this isn't my rule.
I got to give it away.
We don't keep it. It's one of those things. Like we don't get your sales tax. The state that you live in gets your sales tax.
The state asks me for that once a month, and if I don't give it to them, they're coming after me.
What is this sales tax you guys are talking about? Is this something I should be looking into?
Oh, you probably should.
Yeah, I'd reach out to your accountant.
Yeah, reach out to your local DOR.
I'll figure it out. Maybe
they want to know about it. If you're a business, they want your money.
Right.
They listen to this podcast and Dylan owes like $1 million.
Oh,
like, no more Disney trips for you guys.
Whatever. Fuck it. I'm out.
Disney probably costs as much as they would owe in remittance.
Yeah.
After the penalties.
Yep, for sure. All right. So I don't remember where we left off. We left off at George Foreman. And then we spiraled out of control.
Yeah, splines and screen doors and random shit.
So what was your first like legit piece of equipment then?
So my first legit piece of equipment was when I wouldn't call it legit, but it was a 4-color wooden press. Like the whole thing was made of wood. It had like.
Did someone make it for you or did you buy it?
No, I bought it. I think it was from a company called Pocono Screen Supply or something like that.
Pocono. I used to order from Pocono.
I think it was from them, but I bought it on eBay, maybe. I don't know. It was weird. It was a piece of garbage, but I did.
They're not around anymore, so you can say whatever you want to say.
No, they are definitely not around anymore. But the press itself, I mean, it was garbage, but I did a lot of shit on that press.
I used to buy
it was an upgrade.
Yeah, it was definitely an upgrade because before that, I had no press. I had a piece of wood that I slid between the t-shirt. I didn't even know I didn't know what adhesive was. So doing multicolor shirts was very difficult for me. So I'd print one color, like if I was doing more than one color. So I'd lay my screen down on it. I'd print it in there's no such thing as off contact. It was on contact. So at that point, I literally have to peel it up, then flatten the shirt back out, put it under my, hamburger grill to flash the color. I knew to do that though, because I'm like, it's wet. It's going to stick on the back of the screen, especially if I'm doing white. So
I got to pause you real quick. We used to have a thing where back when we used to have trouble with certain things and we were trying to figure stuff out, we used to have this massage technique where like if you were doing hoodies and you forgot to spray in an area or there was no area like adhesive in an area where it moved or shrank or something, where we would like half step the palette and then we would like massage it back into place. And then we'd bring it back and then print it again just so you didn't have that white poking out anywhere.
I think ours is
we do the little tap. Tap.
Well, and you can check. So you can, on a manual press especially, you can bring the screen down and like look through and see if you're out or not. Bring it back up and then do the massage technique. And then
so shop hack for everybody out there. This is a legit way to do it. You just get, you just massage it in.
Do a little massage or a little tap. Yeah, there's many ways to do it.
Little lotion.
Yeah. It never hurt anybody. No. So
no lotion is what hurts people.
Yeah, you gotta keep it lubed up. Don't want some.
All right, I totally forgot where we were.
multicolor printing with no press and no
lube. Right. Okay.
So at that point, I did. There was no way for me to register anything, so I was literally cleaning my screen off every single time I printed a shirt. So except for my white screen, because I always knew you printed white first. So print my white screen, and then the next one I'd come over, I would clean it off before I printed my next shirt, and then I'd clean it off, then I'd put it down, then I'd move the screen around to make sure it was where it needed to be, then I'd print it. Then I think the most I did at that point was 3 colors, and a run of 3 color 24 shirts took me like 6 hours to do.
Now, were you doing these strictly for the band, or these just?
Oh no. At this point, I was printing for not only my band, but all of my friends' bands and their friends' bands.
God, you were selling these to people?
Yes. But I will tell you, I got hired at a screen printing shop because of how good I got at doing it that way. So I was doing that, and I'm like, I should probably learn how to actually screen print the right way. So I called a couple screen printing shops in town. I went and interviewed at one. They had I think it was a 10 color Harco press. And he's like, go ahead and print this for me. I'm like, you want me to do what? I was like, I've never even touched a press before. So he literally put me on press as soon as I walked in, and I pulled the shirt. I literally fucked the first shirt up. And he's like, yeah, you did that all wrong. I was like, okay. I was like, no shit. I was like, I've only printed with fucking a squeegee that had black rubber on it that was like probably a 20 durometer. Yeah. And so he's
we had a guy that same kind of thing. Like, I didn't think you could possibly fuck this up. Like, I was like, hey, you're hired. We need somebody to pull shirts off press. He literally pulled the first shirt off press. It was probably a 5 color print, laid it face down on the dryer. And I was like, that's how this is going to go. All right. Yep. We're good.
Tired.
So he's like, yeah, do it again. So they already had this, I don't even remember what it was. I think it was like a baseball t-shirt or something they were doing. It was like a 7 color print. He's like, go ahead and print it again. So he did it. He's like, you're still doing it wrong. And he yeah, you're not going to work here. So I'm like, okay. And so I found another shop.
You mean within 10 minutes, he's like, no dice? Yeah. This is going to work out?
Yeah. Cause I literally told him when I got there, I was like, I've just been printing in my bedroom. I've been doing it this way. And I guess he just expected me to, be better than what I was. I don't know. I'm like I think at that point I was 17 years old. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what you want from me. I've been, printing on handmade screens, and I
think that's a sign of a bad boss or a bad owner, or whatever he was, manager. It's like, good thing you didn't stay there, because if the guy isn't going to give you a half hour even worth of training of, hey, you did that wrong.
The truth of it is really, he should have looked at the fact that you were driven enough to
100%
right setup work.
Absolutely.
If that dude is willing to fucking staple screens together, fucking print shit, do multicolor prints with that and make them work and sell them to people.
Yeah.
This dude probably can figure this job out. Even if it took you a week, like if that dude like trained you on the manual or auto or whatever it was and was just like, all right, let's give you a week and see how you do. I bet you would have like figured most of it out by then.
Yeah.
Like not like print me a shirt on a piece of equipment you've never touched before.
Yeah.
I also look at somebody like that as very artistic, which means they have something to offer to your shop already. Right. And, you know, very intuitive, and someone who's like going to think outside of the box a little bit sometimes. And we all know that happens in our shops like almost daily. And it's like, just give them a chance. Give them like a couple days of a working interview to see if they progress. Pay them for a couple of days of training.
I got this resume, and I asked for a resume and a cover letter. I got this off of that job posting, and I want to read like this, just a couple of sentences, because I was so impressed. It was probably written by a guy very much like you, that you know, even if this dude comes in here and he's not very good at it, like Dylan said, I really like that he's so driven. So this isn't how he starts it, but like a paragraph in or something, he says, I began screen printing at home about 2 years ago and faced tremendous failures, from driving to car washes to use power washers to breaking screens, registration problems, curing times, and many more challenges. I finally realized that Mizzou is University of Missouri. It's he's getting ready to graduate from. He said Mizzou offered a fine art screen printing course. And in the course, we built screens, learned registration methods, CMYK, hand reductive color methods, and more. And he said he became obsessed. And I'm like, okay.
I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, like, even if he comes in here and he's not very good yet, this guy wants to be good, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
I love that.
I was literally in that shop for less than 10 minutes. And I mean, I'd never even seen a screen printing shop. I'd never seen pictures of a screen printing shop at that point. I had no idea outside of looking at, you know, pictures in a catalog, I didn't know what any of that equipment looked like. So I was in there for less than 10 minutes, and the guy was like, yeah, you're not going to work out. So I left, and then I went to another shop, and it was probably like a week later. My boss, Cindy, at the time, it was at a screen printing shop. They're still in business right now. They're called Gotcha Covered, in Tampa, Florida, on Falkenberg is where they're at. And so at the time that I applied, we were in the basement, the ground level, like basement level of a house. And so I went in. She had like the old test pellets like all over her walls that were, you know, the old prints and stuff like that.
People used to do that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big thing. They weren't framed though. That was the only thing I didn't like. They weren't, you know, framed in
like
my shadow box. Or something. Exactly. They were fucking like had the little push pins in them. Mm-hmm. And so I walk in. She was in the back printing shirts or whatever. And so I just walk in the front door and start looking around at everything. I was super professional. I brought a little portfolio of all the. No, I'm definitely not a suit guy, but I wish I would have thought about it though. I could have worn like a nice leisure suit or something, nice poly baby blue leisure suit.
No shirt, no undershirt. Like
exactly. Yeah.
You know, Kyle,
1970. Yeah.
You know, Kyle, different Kyle. Kyle, our tape. Well, he's a production manager.
Yes.
And screen tech and all that stuff. He, when he applied here, he applied in a full suit.
God damn it. That's
pretty tie, everything.
That's impressive.
Yep. Sure did.
And so
some people do, you know, they take it seriously. They were like, look, maybe they had a school, like schools. I firmly believe that high schools really don't prepare you for life very well.
No.
And, you know, if you just had a class on how to get a fucking job, it could be called that.
Yeah.
You know, it would be really helpful to probably half of America.
Don't bring your mom. Don't wear a full fucking suit.
No, well, it depends.
Don't laminate your fucking resume.
Dressed to impress. I don't know. The guy, he came in here, was like, he was serious about getting the job. And so when he came back for his second interview, he didn't wear a suit, but the first one he did. You know, so I don't know.
He saw you and was like, I don't need this fucking.
Like I did too much.
And so I walk in and she just, I think I actually had like, I don't know if it was a portfolio or like it was like my dad's old briefcase or something. I just thought it was cool. So
you were like, click.
I had like all my old, like prints and things like that I had done over the, 2.5-3 years I was already printing. And so she comes in, and so we sit down and start talking. She asked me exactly like what you guys have asked me, is like how I started, what all I did. And she just sat back and listened to me. And so I was showing her like all the printing that I had done. She's like, wait, how did you do this? And I told her, I was like, I mean, just how I said, like
George Foreman, some screen from a window.
Essentially, I think it was actually a Presto was the brand name, not George Foreman, but I probably would have loved to.
That's your problem. That was probably
yeah. But so she looked at it and she was like, okay. And she was like, come on back. So she took me back to where the production was literally 120 square foot room. That there was a 6-color Lawson press with a 24-inch Lawson Omega dryer. And she's like, okay, go ahead and print me a shirt. So she was running. The funny thing is she was actually running t-shirts for my old private school that I went to in Florida. And I was like, this is super weird. And so she's like, go ahead and print a shirt. And I'm like, on one that's, you're going to give to somebody. And she's like, yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I got some extras. So I printed the first one and she's like, that was okay. That wasn't too bad, but here, let me show you something of how you should do it. And I'm like, oh, she's actually going to show me how to print t-shirts. And so she goes behind the press again. And at that point, I had about 18 inches from the press to an air conditioning unit. So I was literally, there was a window unit on my back in the summertime, which was, glorious in Florida. But I had to move out of the way. So she went back and she showed me how to print the t-shirt. She's like, go ahead and do it again. So I walked behind the press and printed the shirt again. She's like, yep, that's it. She's like, when do you want to start? I was like, okay, tomorrow. She's like, cool. See you at 8. So I started working there. She was one of the biggest influences in my printing life, she had been doing it forever. And she was getting a little bit older. I mean, she wasn't old by any means. She was probably as old as I am now. And she was like, I'm going to start going out and selling jobs and trying to get more business. So I need somebody here to print. I was like, okay. So I literally came back the next day and ran 400 more of the same polos that I printed the day before. And she's like, cool. Yeah, you're going to be here for a while. So I worked there.
And then she locked the basement door.
I worked there.
Slid a sandwich under the door.
Yeah. Every once in a while I'd get a little treat, something nice. I got a bottle of water every 6 hours.
Right. Okay. There was a bucket in the corner.
Yeah. That shop was a disaster. Like it was essentially like she had done all the work herself for so long, and it just kept accumulating the amount of dust and lint that was everywhere. And when I started working, she started cleaning, and, thankfully we were in the basement level of that house for, I think, about 6 months. And then we moved to like a big industrial park. And then I had never had so much room to move in my entire life printing, but I was still backed into a corner. And we had like
the funny thing is, though, is that goes to prove kind of something we talk about a lot with certain people is it's like she was in that position where she was doing everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you finally get somebody that can either print for you or run the office for you. And then you see what happens. Like she sold more jobs and she moved the fuck out. Like, and obviously from there, you guys probably hired more people to do other things and so on.
No, it's still just me.
Just you. Okay.
Just me.
Well, she was like, I got you. You're good.
Exactly. I mean, it was one of those things like she got into doing embroidery too. So she had an embroidery machine in a storage area, like across the street from the shop. So she would be over there working on the embroidery machine that was used, and she didn't know how to use it. So she was trying to figure out how to use it.
Right.
And so, I would printing t-shirts, washing out screens, making screens, doing everything. And then one day our pressure washer broke, so I had to go to the car wash next door. It's funny when you were talking about that resume of the guy working, like cleaning out screens in the car wash. I'm like, been there. And so
it's actually really good. It's extremely efficient. If I ever really install, I think maybe instead of buying the Ecotex, I should have just put a car wash out back, because it's not like, it's actually pretty fast.
I know there's a million printers that have used a car wash. I still think it's a giant dick move.
Well, not if you're using ink degradant and you're doing it right. I mean, it goes down the drain. Oh, fine. You know, like if you're just walking to a car wash and
emulsion fucking blasted all over the wall and the ground.
Not the way I did it.
I cleaned up after myself. It was fine.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. So you go from, it sounds like you got a lot of experience there. Like you really learned how, it was just a manual shop, right? No auto.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a 6-color 4-station Lawson, but one of the heads didn't work. So it was technically a 5-color 4-station. So we would get 5-color jobs all the time, and, manual, 5-color jobs. It's fine. It's not a big deal. So when we got into this new spot, it was great. It was a big wide open spot. It was an extra, 15-minute commute for me, but, it didn't matter. Like, it was my shop. So I was still doing my thing at my house, still printing for my bands and, my friends' bands and all that kind of stuff. And, working at the shop, like I got to the point where I was doing so much work for friends' bands. I asked her, I was like, hey, is it cool if, after we get done doing our jobs, like at the end of the day, is it cool if I come and print some stuff here? Because I mean, the bands that we were printing for, they were no longer shitty, bands that didn't need shitty merchandise. They were good bands that needed good merchandise. So I'm like, I got tired of giving them, garbage prints off of my 4-color wooden press that held registration within a 1/2 inch. So
it's all right.
Yeah, it's close enough. Yeah. You don't need a loop to see that it's out of registration.
Did she say yes to that?
Yeah, she did. She, because of how well she and I worked together, because I mean, we teamed up on a lot of stuff. Like she taught me a lot, and I actually started doing a lot of reading and a lot of educating myself outside of working in the shop, learning about other aspects of screen printing. And
that to me is what shows like a real good dedicated employee is when they clock out and go home and come in the next day and they're like, oh, I saw this thing, or I read this thing about this. It's like that instantly for me is like, I will do anything I can for you. Yeah. Like, not that I wouldn't do that for my employees anyway, but in your mind, it's like, this fucking person's on board. Right. Like, they're researching this shit. They want to be a part of it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, we had sat down and had a conversation about it, because honestly, like, I had better film output at my house than we had at her shop, because she was literally using a laser printer, printing on Casey's vellum and tiling things together to make bigger prints, because it was just an 8.5 by 11. It was an 8.5 by 11 printer. So we were doing like 12-inch wide prints for trucking companies that had like these crazy detailed, tow trucks.
You see lines and everything?
Not the way that I tiled them.
With Casey's, it's
translucency. You're right. It's
not transparent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were to double up on a Casey's paper, your burn time has to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it'll F you because, and then it's really tricky because some parts just a single sheet and then other parts are double. Mm-hmm. I never was able to tile with Casey's, so I bought the wide format. HP came out with this wide format laser printer.
Right.
And I think it could do like 12 by 18 or something crazy like that. And so because I used Casey's for probably, it was out of Colorado. I'd shipped for it and I probably used it for, almost 10 years, like a very long time. It was the way to go before they came out with the inkjet technology that would go onto that film. It was just Casey's was the thing.
Dude, Casey's ruled, man. They were great stuff starting out. Like I had bought, it was called an Zonte Accelerator 3G.
They weren't cheap.
No, they were not. I bought it used on eBay. It had a flat spot in the actual roller in it. So printing halftones was virtually impossible because it would smash that halftone. But I had that at my house, and she's like, hey, can I get you to print some stuff at your house and bring it in? So I was like, yeah, that's fine. So she let me print at home at her shop after hours, and I was printing film at my house, bringing it in and doing whatever. So we had a really good relationship. We did a lot. I mean, I printed 15,000 Verizon t-shirts, 2-color Verizon t-shirts by hand, individually bagged and folded, which my brother came in and helped me with that back then too. So I had him to thank for all that.
Dude, I've done those sort of runs on a manual, and it is absolutely like brutal, you know.
It is. So it was not fun. I mean, with as bad of registration as that Lawson press held, I mean, it was old. It was from like the late 80s. So I mean, you could print 30 shirts, but then you'd have to re-register the press, or wipe the back of the screen off and, you know, start over.
Thank God I did that when I was young, like in my 20s, when I mean, I didn't even care. Like, I knew it was hurting. I didn't care. Like this was, I thought it was so cool because I was acting like a big dog, you know, like, oh, I had all these shirts. Like there used to be this place called St. Louis Tees here. It was like an SNS, let's say, but just, I could drive to it. And so I would drive up. I remember ordering like those big orders where I had a Ford Explorer, and then whenever I got to there and I got to put the seats down and just like, people were standing around waiting for their orders too at pickup. And I pulled in and I got to pick up like 30 cases or whatever. I thought like, oh, I'm a baller. Like, check this out. But I would go back to my garage, you know, and then just print away and kill myself. But I didn't care. Like I knew I wanted to be, I knew one day I would have an auto, and the way to get there, I guess this kind of goes back to, you know, it takes money to make money, is like, I knew that if I just printed these orders, like eventually, if I kept this up, that I would get an auto one day. So
it was crazy. Like, sorry,
Nikki, where are you in this timeline?
Well, I'm not there yet. Okay. I didn't show up until.
Well, I'm just saying, you're over there in your owl hat, just like.
All right, should we fast forward? Should we fast forward a little bit?
No. I'm just wondering when you pop into the picture.
What year was that?
When you came in?
Well, no, whenever you were working for Cindy.
98, 99.
What were you doing? Where were you on the July 4th, 1999?
I mean, that's a loaded question, but.
Did you graduate in 1999?
No, I graduated in 2001, and then we met in 2004.
Yeah.
So
she didn't start at the shop until 2013.
Yeah.
So we still got a couple hours to go. But no, like, I mean, I worked there. You know, I worked with her for about a year and a half. And then the band that I was in at the time, we got offered a full U.S. tour. I was like, cool, yeah, I'm gonna do this tour. So told my boss, and she's like, yeah, you can do it, but you do not have a job when you get back. It was a month long, and it was, you know.
Did she say you didn't have a job because she just had no other choice? Like, she had to hire someone to replace
she had to hire somebody else to come in because, I mean, I was literally the guy who did everything. I told her like 3 months before that we were going out. And I
was going to say, but it's a good lesson to shop owners, though. Don't put yourself in that position. I mean, we have an employee.
I fully agree with this.
We have an employee in a band, and he took a month off to go on tour. Yeah. But because we have the staff, it was fine. And if you know that about your staff, it's okay. But like, don't put yourself in that position to lose that good employee because they want to go and do something for themselves. Make sure you have people for it. And she obviously was not thinking ahead.
At that point, she knew that I was, you know, in a band and we were, you know, doing stuff. So we had a couple people come in that I was training on how to do stuff, but they never worked out. Like, they didn't have any desire to actually work. They wanted to just, you know, sit around and, you know, listen to whatever music was on the radio at the time. I don't know. But so I told her that, and she found somebody that I had worked with to start figuring out training, and they were doing a pretty decent job. So
now, did you cross train that person? Like, did she hire them early enough in advance where you could flip out after? I think we had about 2 months before I went on the road that she found the person that basically took over for me. And, you know, it was literally like, he would just shadow me for the first couple of weeks, where it was literally like, he saw exactly what I did, how I did it. And I think he had some mild experience in printing. I think he had like some experience from doing it in college or something like that.
But he was older than I was. So it was like, I don't think he liked being taught by a younger person how to do things. He wasn't a very nice guy, but I did what I had to do.
Well, you knew you were going to be out soon anyway.
Exactly.
So it's not like you had to fucking work with this guy every day.
Yeah. So I showed the guy, how to do pretty much everything that I did, which was start to finish, like get in there in the morning, coat screens, wait for screens to dry, burn screens. Cause there was no routine. Like we didn't have any kind of schedule in place for things. It was literally like, here's what we have to print this week, do whatever. There was no structure. Right. So I go out on the road, I come back and I just go back to visit. And she's like, I had to hire 2 more people to do the work that you did because that guy could not handle it. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you were able to, get people to do what needed to be done. So, and at that point,
did you, before you left, know what you were going to do when you got back?
Honestly, not really. I was 18 years old and I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to be a rock star. I'm just going to go play music. And when I come back, I'm just going to, figure out what I'm going to do then. So I came back and I really buckled down and I'm like, I've either got to go back to working at a screen printing shop again, or I've got to really focus on growing my thing. And at that point, I just gotten to where I was like, yeah, I'm just going to, work out of my bedroom and make shit happen. And that's what I did. I mean, that little 4-color wooden press that I had, it put out some pretty decent sized bands from Florida's merchandise that I have at my house still. So
I was going to say, do you still have that press?
No, that was one of the things that I gave to my buddy who loaned me $500 back in the day. It was like, I gave him literally all of that equipment. So I'm like, I don't want to use this stuff anymore. So I think around that time is when I went to a trade show in Tampa, Florida, back when I don't even remember what organization put it on at the time. And I started looking into equipment and started really seeing what is out there in the industry. And I came across Workhorse. And I'm like, I just like the name. I like the logo. I think it's cool. I did some research into their...
It's out of registration.
It wasn't brown.
It was not brown. And so I bought some equipment from them. Actually, it was like some starter package. It was a 6-color, 6-station Odyssey press. It wasn't an actual Workhorse press. It was their like low end. But luckily I got their, good dryer and good flash and all that kind of stuff. So I ordered it, and it was at this point, my parents had moved to North Carolina from living in Florida. And so I had the equipment delivered to their house in North Carolina because it was going to be cheaper for it to go there than it was for it to go from Workhorse to Florida. So I was going to get it in North Carolina and bring it back down to Florida because it was going to be cheaper. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me why it was the way that way. But so the equipment's getting delivered and I'm helping the truck driver unload the equipment off the back of a semi truck in my parents' backyard, and no lift gate. It was a terrible, terrible idea. And so we get the press off because the press was the lightest piece of equipment. It just kind of the truck driver literally just pushed it off the back of the truck and it fell. And I'm like, all right, cool. Now we have to tilt it upright. And so we were sliding the dryer off of the truck. We got it to where we were both holding it. It was like teetering on the edge of the truck. And so he's like, oh, I don't got it. So he moved out of the way. And I'm stuck there. I'm like, oh shit. So it literally just slid and kept falling. It was like an 850-pound crate. And luckily I was able to step back far enough to where it didn't land on my upper body, but it landed on my leg, pinned me to the ground.
Holy shit.
My toes were touching
Who's
my
this fucking
shin.
truck driver?
He was an R&L Carriers truck driver.
He's just like, whoopsies.
That was exactly what he did. He's like, oh, I don't got it. And he like let go and moved around the corner. And I was like, man. So luckily we were on like soft ground. So it literally just drove my leg into the ground. So I don't know how, but somehow I mustered the strength to slide my.
It would have been better if it laid it on you and then you just saw the truck peel out.
Well, I mean, that's essentially what happened. Like,
he's like, not my fucking problem. So
like he moved, it lands on me. I somehow slide my leg out from under this crate. And I'm just like walking around. I'm like, oh shit, this doesn't feel right. Something's wrong. Like, I don't know what's going on. And somehow I make it up the back deck steps and I pass out. I don't know how I got up the steps. I don't remember. I think I remember going up 2 steps and then I just woke up to the truck driver standing over me with the bill of lading in my face. And he hand wrote, everything is okay. And he literally had it in my face. He's like, I have to go. Can you sign this, please?
I want to know how long he waited there. He's like fanning you with it.
Dude, I've got no idea,
man. I wish this was on video because, you know, if it was a time where you had like cell phone video and shit like that, because that would be so incredible to watch, because this is exactly what you don't do.
Yep.
You know, this is a good, I mean, you'll never do that again. I saw somebody text, and who was it? I think it might've been even Alan. So he was getting a press like a couple of days ago, and he had a forklift reserved and it was supposed to get, I guess, delivered to his shop so that he could get this a new press off of a truck. Yeah. He was getting this Cobra, and a Cobra comes in like 3 crates and they're heavy as fuck.
Yeah.
And so the forklift doesn't show up, and he's like, hey guys, anybody know how to get a Cobra off without a forklift? And it's basically like, you just don't. And then, but he had a tow truck.
The best part of that conversation for me was it Matt that sent those fucking like refrigerator lift up straps?
Like, 4-arm forklift.
This is why you don't ask questions on Facebook. It wasn't on Facebook. It was in our Mild Boys chat, but it was just funny because it was like,
yeah, he was totally kidding. But I mean, he had so what he did was, you know how you have like a tow truck that is like the kind of tow truck that the car goes up on, like a bed. Yeah. So
it was a wrecker, flatbed wrecker.
Yeah, it was a wrecker, I guess. And he backed up to the back of the truck, and then they were going to try and drag it or pallet jack it onto the wrecker and then get it off or something like that. But, you know, I see questions in groups sometimes, and they're like, hey, you guys know any other cheap ways to get pallets or crates off of trucks? And it's like, okay, well, fine, you can do that, but then it might land on you and then Kyle almost kill you, you know, and then your truck driver doesn't give a shit. He's gone.
Yeah. He's just like, hey, you signed this shit? I gotta go.
I don't want to get sued.
Yep.
Talking about the flatbed, that's really funny because we got a Bartering this summer. And one of the ways that Bartering actually tells you to unload is by using a flatbed. So they tell you
How do they do that?
They tell you to pallet jacket.
Because it's so long, right? Because you can't pallet jacket because it's so long.
14 feet long. Yeah,
we use the forklift because we know how to get it off with a forklift safely. Well, mostly safely. But they tell you to back up a flatbed to it and then pallet jack it onto the flatbed and then let the flatbed
tilt it down
so you can like roll it off. But I mean,
that makes sense.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
It's like I did the same thing with the auto reclaim. I think that thing was like 14 feet long.
Yeah.
And like I put the pallet jack on it, but the problem is it's so long that like you can't get the whole thing off the ground. And then like getting it in anything or over any humps or anything, like you've got all the flat spot in the middle. So it's just kind of like, it's a big pain in the ass, but
you can also ask for longer forks on the forklifts too.
Yeah, there's extenders. Yeah. We always use an extender.
I have 2 stories with that. One, you definitely should ask if you need fork extensions for equipment if you're getting it, because I had a dryer that was an original Sprint modular M&R dryer, like the big one.
Yeah.
And I bought the Sprint 3000, but I sold the dryer to somebody in, I don't remember where it was, like Virginia or something. And I told him, I was like, hey, I hate shipping you stuff. Like I will sell it to you, but you have to coordinate shipping. He's like, okay, cool. So I think he probably, just got the cheapest thing he could get. He got like FedEx freight or whatever. So I spent the time to like get this thing like palletized and like got it all ready, whatever I had to do. But you needed fork extensions for the center section of the dryer to like pick it up and put it in the truck.
Yep.
Well, we got it picked up. We put it in the truck. We did everything we had to do. Well, what happened was when FedEx took it to their location and moved it from truck to truck, they didn't have fork extensions, so they just picked it up. Well, when they picked it up and got it out of the truck, it just flipped over on top of it, and it just crushed it, like totally annihilated the dryer. Like there was no fixing it; it was totally caved in and crushed. Well, the dude sends me pictures. He's like, "Hey, I know this is a dumb question, but this didn't look like this when it left your shop, right?" Because FedEx never told him what happened. They were just like, "Hey, this dryer looked like," they delivered it. They fucking delivered it to
Jesus
the dude crushed.
Christ.
And
So
he's like,
they...
"Hey, this didn't look like this when it left your shop, right?" I was like, "There's no fucking way." And like the best thing that I ever did, and I didn't like do this intentionally, was I took photographs of everything before I shipped it. And I was just like, I'm just going to keep these in my phone, like in case he needs to know like what it looked like palletized or like how big is it or whatever. I just took pictures of everything. And as soon as he texted me, I sent him those pictures. I was like, "Dude, this is exactly what it looked like when it left here." But then he found out, like he got insurance from FedEx or whatever it was, that like, yeah, they fucking dropped it.
That's
like,
insane.
I love that taking a picture idea, and not just with before you ship something, but when we got to we rented a car, and when we got to Long Beach Airport, they have just a drop off, right? And it was before they opened. Our flight was at like 7:10 and they open at 7, but we were there obviously like earlier, right? So an hour earlier. And so they're like, what you're supposed to do is pull in, you walk into this like annex looking thing and then drop your keys in this whatever and then leave. But when I pulled in, there was this guy standing next to me who had also was dropping off a car, and he was taking pictures of everything. Like not just the outside of the car,
dents,
but he went
anything scratches.
Yeah, and he went into the inside. He took pictures of his mileage and of his gas tank and all this shit, because he's like, sometimes they try to get you on the mileage or the gas or whatever it is. We took photos of everything. So I did the same thing. Copied him. Yeah, smart. It's smart.
Because then they're going to call you and be like, "Hey, there's a dent in the rear or whatever." I'm like, I have photos right here when I drop this shit off.
Yeah. We've sold a good amount of used equipment this year because we upgraded so much, and we've tried to encourage people to just come and pick it up.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It's the best. Yeah.
And I think everybody has so far. Yeah.
I think ever since the dryer, I refuse to ship anything. I'm like, I'm not, if you want this bad enough, fucking come get it. Like how many stories have we heard, Andy, of people saying they bought this piece of equipment and they fucking flew to the place, got a truck and drove it back?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
So at this point, I'm like, fuck. I go to the hospital. Luckily, nothing's broke, but I have really bad arthritis in my foot now, and whatever. But so I'm literally.
Andy, don't start. We don't have the time.
I didn't say anything.
You were fucking chomping at the bit. You were like, "Oh, you got feet issues? Let's do it."
I don't have arthritis in my foot. I don't have arthritis in my foot. So I can't relate.
I've got plantar fasciitis and really.
Here we go.
Whatever.
Here we go. All right. Cancel your reservation, Dylan.
Go ahead, guys. I got to smell it.
So go to the hospital. Nothing's broken. I'm in a cast and all that. So I'm literally setting up all this equipment because I'm like, fuck, I'm living in North Carolina now. So this is 2003. I've got, I'm literally just sitting there like, okay, I guess I have to live in North Carolina. So I'm setting up all this equipment with a bum leg. I have a computer chair with no back on it underneath my knee, just kind of scooting around my parents' it's a small little workshop. So setting up my dryer with one leg, setting up my press with one leg. I've never done any of this stuff before. I've never, leveled or plain pallets. I've never done, I've never set a dryer up. I've never done anything. So I do all this stuff, get an electrician in there, wire everything, and start printing in North Carolina. Then I go to Florida, pick up all my stuff, move to North Carolina, work out of the garage and, workshop of my parents' house for years. And then we moved to another house, work in the garage there.
Is your band back in Florida?
At this point, we were we had just finished recording a 7-inch that we were going to release. So we had kind of started to peter off a little bit. We weren't really doing as much. We had played a few festivals and we had done a lot of shows. So we're just kind of like taking a little break. And so, me and my brother, we just end up moving to North Carolina because his wife is from Chattanooga. And at the time they had gotten married in Florida. So they were just kind of like, it's closer to her family to live in North Carolina. So they moved up here with us too. And so, yeah, I mean, we're just kind of like, we're still playing every once in a while. We'll drive down to Florida to play shows and whatnot. And which, a side note, the drummer for our band, for that band, actually lives in LA now, who I went to go see whenever I was in Long Beach, because I hadn't seen him in years. So I was like, he was like our little brother. He was like, you know, I think whenever he joined the band, he was like 15 years old and we were like 18 and 19. So we're like, oh, cool. We got a little brother to beat the shit out of. So
take him into bars without faking it.
So, but yeah, I mean, you know, just doing bigger and bigger bands and losing those bands when they get bigger, because I'm not willing to offer them credit on merchandise. And like, I printed for solid state bands. I was printing for face down bands. I was printing for, like, you know, that whole punk rock, hardcore era of music. I was doing a ton of bands like that. And so, you know, it was probably in 2004. We actually met when I was still in the garage, the workshop area, like the smaller spot that I was in. And so, you know, Nikki's over here working retail and whatnot. And I'm, you know, printing in my fucking parents' basement. And my parents moved to another house. So I moved into that house. And then at that point, I'm just like, God, I'm still printing manually and I'm still doing this. I've got so much shit to do. And I'm just like, I need to look into autos. You know, that's the logical.
Like, I got to spend money to make money.
got to, you know. So that's the logical next step. So does NBM used to do a show. We still do, but it's not NBM anymore. But NBM was doing trade shows in Charlotte. So we go to a Charlotte trade show, because that's where you go to look at equipment and whatnot. So we're walking around looking at what's there. TechSource has their booth that has the Progressive Falcon. MHM is there. M&R is there, and you know, all the big hitters are, you know, at this trade show, because back then the Charlotte show was, you know, something to go to, but now it's, you know, complete garbage.
4 aisles maybe.
Yeah. So I'm looking at all these presses. I automatically exclude MHM because they were like $30,000 above my budget. And so I'm, you know, we're looking around, looking at stuff, seeing what happens. We went to a specific manufacturer's booth and hung out there for 45 minutes and no one said a word to us. So I walk over to the TechSource booth where...
God, I just know who that is, don't you?
Yeah, we both know.
Yeah,
I didn't even say anything.
We've heard the story too many times.
Everyone knows, but I'm not going to name the name. So I go over to the TechSource booth.
What color is the press? Can you give us that? No, don't. Just kidding.
Might as well say.
It starts with a B, you know?
Brown. Again.
What the fuck, brown?
We tried so hard to buy a brown.
God damn.
But
I
yeah,
hope they hear this episode too, and they're like,
God fucking damn.
Oh my gosh, we should probably just say right now, Brown, we love you. We're so sorry. I'm sure you guys are great, and you help a lot of people. A lot of people have your presses, and
wouldn't
they print
know though,
shirts.
because your presses are brown.
I've printed thousands and thousands of shirts on my Brown Master Printer, 6-color, 6.
Hell yeah, brother! It's a screen printing press. It's way better than a fucking manual. Go for it.
Every press is good for somebody.
Yep.
Depending on what your demographic and what your jobs are.
If you're colorblind, it's your press.
Fantastic. You're looking at a gray press.
So you stood at this certain manufacturer's booth for like 25 hours straight. They didn't even give a fuck.
She set a fucking stopwatch. She's like, I just want to see how long it'll take. So she set her stopwatch, and I'm like, this is insane. They were all in like a little group. That all the guys running the booth. I know the owner of the company was there at the booth. So they're all standing there, you know, whatever. And I'm just, you know, a fucking tattooed up punk rock kid walking up to this, you know, big hitter booth. And I'm not exactly wearing khakis and polos. And so
should have wore a suit.
I should have worn a suit. You know, my 3-piece.
We're learning a lot this episode.
I think my cummerbund was at the cleaners. So go over to the Tech Source booth where they have the Progressive Falcon set up, running around, and I'm like, I'll take that press. And my rep at the time was like, are you sure? And I pulled out a cashier's check from my pocket and gave it to them. And they're like, okay, let's get you this press. So
you mean you bought the one off the floor, or you just ordered one?
I bought the trade show model off the floor.
Because it was in North Carolina, it was in Charlotte, which I guess is pretty close to you.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half away. And then you were just going to
pick it up or something like the next day?
No, they actually, what they did was they basically packed it up in their truck and delivered it to my shop.
And they just push it off on top of you?
Yes. Yeah.
They're like, hey, can you move a little to the left? And I just fucking shoved it.
So yeah, I mean,
that's awesome because I just got I'm getting a Cobra in a few weeks. Freight quote. You can't, it used to be where you did a, what's it called? What do they call that? COD? Yeah. Cash on delivery. So you could collect it here or something. Now you have to prepay it. $1,700 for freight from Chicago. Like it's
that's
like right over there.
Cheaper than I thought it would have been.
Yeah, that's a lot cheaper than I thought it would be too.
It's
I guess maybe because it's 4 hours away, but still, it's a lot of money.
Yeah,
and so you saved that right there.
Freight quote was more like $5,000 or $6,000.
Yeah.
They probably didn't charge you to crate it either because it's probably show crated or whatever.
Oh no, yeah, it was literally like the body of the press itself was one piece, and then they had all the pallet arms on two separate pallets, and they had all the print.
You always get a sweet deal if you buy it from the show because they want to get rid of it. They don't want to
take it back.
They don't want it back. Yeah.
How did they come and install it?
Yeah, they came and installed it. We got it. I got it delivered one day, and then the install was literally that day because the guy who drove the truck was actually the tech for the press.
Yeah.
So, I mean, working with them, there was actually a guy who was there at the trade show, who ran Progressive Falcons. Like he was literally like talking about how they run. Like he knew them up and down outside of, the guys at Tech Source who just sold them. Like they were just the salesmen, but they actually had a guy who ran the presses there. And as soon as I told, my guy that I was wanting to buy it, he came over and literally started showing me how to run the press, like what things did, whatever. I was like, yeah, I've never seen one of these in my life. So that's cool that you're doing that. So yeah, we got it delivered and got it installed. And that was 2007 was whenever we got all that done. Luckily found the shop that we're currently in now, that we've been in for 16 years now. So it was, a great fit. I mean, I did things on that press.
So you're in that was the shop that you're in right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We didn't. So we bought the auto and had nowhere to put it.
Yeah. So I had it's funny because we had, I was actually getting ready to go sign the lease on an industrial park spot that I had found. It was the only thing that I could find that was online, that was for rent for any kind of business. And so I go and look at this spot. I'm like, yeah, I guess it'll do. It's, it's fine. It's $2,000 a month for 4,000 square feet. And in 2007, that was a lot. And so luckily, I was driving around. It was like a last ditch effort for me to find something cheaper and better. So I was driving around downtown and I saw this tiny little for rent sign. And so I called the landlord. So I'm like, hey, can I come take a look at the building? I saw that it was for rent. So he's like, yeah, just come on by. So it was like a Monday when I went and looked at it and walked in the door, told me what the rent was. I'm like, I'll take it. So we had really cheap rent for a long time. And if I had actually moved into that industrial park, Machine Gun Graphics wouldn't be a thing. Like I would have literally gone out of business within a year. So having the shop that I'm in now, with the landlords that we had at the time, with as good as they were, I mean, they were really nice, good old country boys. They were like, we don't need a lot to pay our mortgage. So we just want to give you cheap rent. So I think we paid $650 a month for 3,000 square feet.
It's really good.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, it never went up. Like he's like, I could charge you more, but I don't need to. So I'm not going to.
I love when a landlord understands that, you're a customer too.
Yeah.
They get it. They're like, you're in it together. If you are successful, if your shop is successful, then you're going to be able to pay them rent. you know, and so he should set you up for success and want that. And so when you get a landlord that understands and works with you, because there's going to be issues that come up, you know.
Yeah.
And so
that's exactly how I am as a landlord. And like, it's good and bad, because like when I had someone that was interested in the spot at the end of the building, it wasn't fixed up yet. It was just like a big open spot. And she told me like, hey, I'm really interested. I want to rent this place out. And I was like, you know, I've had it empty for like 8 years. Like I haven't done anything with it. Whatever. I was like, I'll go ahead and put the money in to fix it up. I think I spent like, I don't know, maybe like $50K to fix it up. So I fixed it up and I knew, okay, like if she's not going to rent it, I'll rent it out to somebody else, whatever. But my agreement with her was like, I knew it was the same thing. Like she kind of slightly ran this business out of her house, but wanted to like double down and like, you know, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to do this thing full time. So I was like, I'm just going to charge you like half rent for like a year.
Yeah.
I was like, say rent's like $800 or whatever. I was like, I'll charge you $400 for the first year, just so you can like get your feet wet, get off the ground. Like, don't necessarily worry about rent as being something like, oh God, I need to make rent at the end of the month. Call me if you're going to have an issue.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like $800 after the first year. And then for the next year and the next year and the next year, maybe I'll like incrementally make it go up slightly. And I've just never made it go up. Like every year I'm like January 1st, like I'm going to tell her like, hey, this year it's going to be like $1,000. And the next year it's going to be like $1,100. It's been $800 for like, I don't know, a couple of years.
I'm going to move my shop to, I'm going to move my shop in there. I like that.
I think it's like, I don't care. Like realistically, I should be doing it as like, you know, this income thing, like all this other stuff. Like I know this girl, I kind of went to high school with her, and like, she's got a good business going. It makes my building better because there's like cool shops in it. And like, I just don't care. Like for me, if the money is like not something I need, I already own the place. It's not like I'm like, whatever, like, fuck it. Like
that's a really good shop hack. I think that when you're going to sign a lease, it doesn't always have to be the same throughout the 5-year lease. You know, you could say, look, I'm getting ready to move into this building. I'm going to have XYZ expenses. I'm not going to have business right away. You know, there's these startup costs, and you can say, look, the first year, let's do this. And then it can graduate. It doesn't have to be the same. You know what I mean? It can, it has to make sense for you, and you can negotiate whatever you want. You know, you can even also back and load it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You could also, like, for example, with our low rent, meant this was an as-is space. So, for example, the space doesn't have air conditioning. It's coming soon, but it doesn't. But ultimately, that's not something that was needed for us. Right. So it's like, you can also do something like that. Maybe tell the landlord that you'll be in charge of certain aspects of it and see if they'll give you lower rent on
My
that
thing too is it's like, I'm very like, just me as a human being, I'm a very like into pay it forward. And like, I feel like throughout my life, especially like how I acquired this building was like a very pay it forward situation. Like it was an old dude. He knew me. It was like a hometown deal. We literally did a handshake deal. He was like, hey, I want you to do well. It's cool to see somebody try to do something in this town. Like, this is I'm going to give you a hell of a deal. Let's do it. Yeah. And it's the same kind of thing. Like anything I do, like if I give away, like you were saying, you gave your buddy like presses and stuff. Like when I have shit that I'm just done with, I call local people that like are printers. And I'm just like, hey, I've got this stack of screens, or I got this manual, or I got this whatever. I'm just like, just get it out of my shop. Like, okay.
Dylan, I love you.
We donated.
You have such a good heart.
We donated that old brown manual press that we had to a local maker space so that they could have a better press for screen printing to teach people how to do it. Because ultimately, when we start looking for new staff, we could always do something as simple as go teach classes there and see if there's anybody that shines.
Yeah. So you had ulterior motives. You were like, I'll give you this, but if you get somebody good, they're coming over here.
Maybe.
All right. So are we at the spot where you're working there? Yeah, I think we are.
This was
2007 to 2008. So
2013 is when
2013 is when she started. I'm going to kind of
3 years left.
I'm going to kind of this is where Ross cut me off. He's like, so let's just fast forward to when
we're not cutting you off, man.
So, Ross, I love
He's going to run to his dinner on the phone.
Yeah.
So 2010. What kind of year was that for you? What'd you have for dinner? What'd you have for breakfast? Let's hear it all.
Well, let's see. In 2008, that was whenever you know, everyone, you know, had the market crashed. That whole thing. Yep. So I had 3 orders. There was 1 month where I had 3 orders.
So 2008 to 2011 probably sucked.
2008
Wait a second,
and 2011
3
was
orders?
terrible. Yeah,
Three orders in 3 years?
In December.
No,
This was December of 2008. I had 7. I had 3 orders.
Why? So what would you have?
30, 40. So it was, I got a second job working at a bakery right down the street from my shop. I would wake up at 4:00 in the morning, go to the bakery, work till noon. I'd come to the shop after I'd leave there, work at the shop till midnight. I did that for 2 years.
Hell yeah, brother. And this is exactly thank you for proving my point perfectly that it doesn't take money to make money. You went and made some fucking money at the bakery to help your business.
Yeah. The money that I was making at the bakery was paying shop bills. Her working at her job was paying our house.
Dylan,
bills.
shut up. Well, I don't know what you're going to say, but don't say it.
So I did the whole working at a bakery thing for 2 years. The business started.
You got so much sweet baked goods though.
Dude, I got so fucking fat working there.
Yeah.
It's not even funny.
Yeah.
I think I gained like 40 pounds working there.
Oh, so many good carbs.
It was a French bakery too. So like the croissants that were made, unreal. They were the best croissants I've had since being in Paris. So 2010, 2011 was when things really started to pick up for the shop. And it basically just overwhelmed me. Like I was running it solo I'd run it solo up until now. And I continued to run it solo until she came in.
So before you go any further, why did it pick up? Why did all of a sudden it was all this business? What did you do differently?
We were Winston's best kept little secret. Yeah. And as soon as people started finding us, they started telling all their friends, all the people that were younger that kind of grew up around both of us, started getting jobs. And in those jobs, they had responsibilities and they started saying, hey, I got this guy. Yeah, I got this guy. I got this guy.
Because like at that point, like all the bands that I had worked for, they either broke up, created other bands, got too big to work with a small screen printing shop. Their record labels told them they couldn't. So it was one of those things like the band thing fizzled out as far as printing. And we to this day, we still hardly print for bands at all anymore. So it picked up so quickly. So at that point where, she was getting ready, she needed a change from her job. So it was like
what was your job?
Was a retail store manager for Hot Topic.
Oh, okay. That's Hot Topic.
What were you going to say?
I don't know. I have to think like Old Navy or some shit. I don't know.
Oh God, no.
She worked at Aeropostale before she went to Hot Topic.
I did. Nothing.
When Hot Topic first hit, it was pretty
Aerie.
Cool.
Were you like a mall rat that went from like Hot Topic to Aerie?
No, I hated those people. They bounced around the entire mall. I was actually
she stuck at Hot Topic for like 10 years.
I was there for 10 years. I started as a sales associate and ended as a store manager. She
climbed that fucking corporate ladder.
Hell yeah.
And then I was just ready to move on.
Yeah. So at that point she came in. So I had help from, my parents were super supportive. My dad would come in and reclaim for me whenever he would get off work. I would feel so fucking terrible having my dad come in and reclaim for me. My mom would come reclaim. There were Saturdays where they, came and helped pull on press and run jobs with me or whatever. And
that's awesome.
It just got to the point where, I really needed someone to take over the business side of things and run that because I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do invoicing anymore. I couldn't do that kind of stuff. And so she came in and she'll tell you what a fucking shit show this shop was, what a disaster it was. It looked like a fucking bomb had gone off. I think I was running with 2 ballasts of bulbs in our production facility because I didn't have time to change them. Like I didn't have the time to go up there, replace all the ballasts, replace all the bulbs. So she came in and whipped this shop into shape.
Yeah, I mean, and she's coming in with 10 years of retail experience. I mean, she's a badass at this point.
Oh yeah. I mean,
exactly what you needed,
Exactly. I mean, it's
the
like
kind of person you would think wearing a fucking owl hat.
Yep.
Yeah. Who's also a member of a mafia.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
She will stab you.
So yeah, I mean, having her come in with her expertise in, management and time management and basically handling the things that had kind of gone by the wayside. I mean, I was focused more on production. I was focused more on making the product look good as it left the shop. I think, you know, my turnarounds at the time, I think I would literally get an order in, print it, let them know they were done. So it was just like rapid fire trying to get orders out, get them in, get them out, get them in, get them out. So there was no structure to getting them done. There was literally nothing put in place to have a successful shop. It was just running itself at that point.
Seems like at that point too, that if you're building this reputation of being great and having good quality and all this stuff, good service, and all of a sudden that's at risk. You know, you start put that at jeopardy when you're that busy and you're trying to do it all yourself, and all of a sudden
you realize, you know what I got to do? I got to spend money in hiring someone in order to make money.
Yeah, of course. I'm okay. Never mind.
Well, Dylan,
guys, go ahead. Just ignore him.
It sucks too, because like, honestly, like thinking back on it, like it should have happened a lot sooner. Like the shop operated the shop operated in the way that it did for such a long time, where it's like bringing somebody else in should have happened much sooner, because it could have grown a lot better than what it did.
More better.
Yeah,
more better. Yeah. So when I came in, I just basically took over like the structure of it, just cleaning everything up, putting practices into place. So for example, there was only 2 of us and a ton of work. So I kind of like sat down and tried to figure out like, how can we make our lives easier by just breaking down all the daily tasks? Because Kyle used to seriously sit down and separate everything the night before and then come in the next day, burn all the screens and mix the inks and print the jobs. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way for us to like do this and it not feel like so slow.
So let's get serious for a second on the way this is, where like Kyle's kind of running everything. He's doing both. You see your numbers as a business. I mean, the way you described the way the shop was, I'm not guessing you had like airtight books. But Nikki, when you came in, what was the change that you saw business wise as far as like growth and what you were doing within like 6 months to a year of like you handing off one half and you handling the other half?
200% growth.
So there you go.
No lie. Like I can tell you exactly what it was because I pay attention to stuff like that.
Right.
But it was all a matter of like changing how we operated the shop. I made it a point to try to respond to every single customer and get a quote out and get an invoice out as fast as possible. And that became faster than anybody else in our town.
Did everybody just hear that? Speed to quote. It's so important. When they come in there, don't let them sit. It's like during the week or during the day, if we get a quote submission, we're answering it within an hour. I mean, and people always comment like, wow, thanks so much, for getting me this so fast. And so it's super important.
And COVID kind of did this just because we got a little bit busier in other areas. And I went back to helping out in certain areas for a little while, but I do have an auto reply up just so that people know we're getting their email.
We have that too, yeah.
That says to give us 24 hours, but very few and far between does it not happen in an hour or two.
But it's so hard.
Somebody.
When Kyle's running a press and burning screens, making separations, mixing ink, all the sort of stuff, and then he sees that there's a quote, but let's say he has a job that's due, what do? You're like, okay, do I do the job that I know they're coming to pick it up or whatever? Yeah. Do I stop and put out a quote? Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And so
what you do is you wait until 2 a.m. when you just got home from printing, and then you answer emails.
Yep. That's exactly what he did.
What I did. Like, I can't tell you how many times, like I would just come home from printing all day. Like it would be like long days. Like I'd come to the shop, I'd work 12, 13, 14 hours. Then I'd go home, sit on my computer, do artwork and answer emails that came in throughout the day that I didn't get to. And I mean, that's what life was for me for a very long time. With, running the shop solo. I mean, I did have help. My mom did a lot of the bookkeeping. She was like kind of handling, the tax stuff and all that kind of stuff. But when it came to actually like doing invoicing and, mock-ups and, art separations, art creation, that kind of stuff, that fell on my shoulders. So not a lot of sleep happened for 5 years. 6 years.
Ultimately, we just continued to build those processes in, and we just grew, and we just kept growing just from the one structure.
The one thing that she was getting at before was that when she was trying to figure out, the best way to do things, she's like, why don't we just do screens on Mondays? Like make all the screens for the week on a Monday. And at that point, it made sense to do it. I mean, she got a lot of pushback from me on a lot of things that she was trying to put in place because I'm a pretty fucking stubborn guy. And I'm like, this is my business. You can't tell me what to do in my business. It's kind of an asshole. But, it made sense whenever that actually, I started to see the change in doing things that way. So we were literally we did this for a very long time where we made every screen for every job on Monday. So Monday was our
really tough. Like
it was very hard at first because I had to restructure how I was doing things. Like if I was doing separations, I would have to have the entire week separations ready for that Monday. 9 times out of 10, it happened, but there was always that one time where I'd be like, oh shit, I forgot about that one. So let me, I'll do that one later in the week. But we had a really good routine down for a really good amount of time where it was that Monday was all prep. It was just me and her here. We didn't even really have employees. We would have help every once in a while, but at this point it was like, all screens Monday was prep day, inks, screens, everything done for every job. Jobs were counted
Tuesday through Friday was production.
It makes sense, especially if you got 2 people.
So it definitely it changed how the dynamic worked with the shop, where it was instead of me kind of running around with a chicken with my fucking head cut off, it was like there was actually a structure in place for how this happened. And so whenever I started to see the fruits of that labor, I was like, this is going to go somewhere. It's going to be something. So,
and I wish things like direct to screen and reclaim units as a 2-person shop, if that would have been available to us at that time, I would have totally taken that on, even as a smaller shop.
Yeah, if we could have done direct to screen, if we could have had auto reclaim, our lives would have been so much easier for such a long time.
Got to spend money to make money, guys. Sorry. And remember, there's it takes money to make money and spend money to make money. 2 different things, but yes. So I have 2 things before we go to. I think Dylan, did you get any questions? You probably
yes. I was about to ask
before we go to that. 2 things. One, can you tell us your roles now, like in 2000, what year is it? 22?
22,
so, 2022. What do you do now? What's your role every day? And what does your day look like, Nikki?
My day every day now is pretty much just customer service, customer interaction, invoicing, and daily operations and planning. So I still step back on production from time to time. We need to hire about 3 more people this year to pull me completely away from production because I'm a little maxed out with daily operations and customers.
Yeah, now's the time to do it too. So we're trying to add about 3 or 4 right now and see if we can pick up somebody before March is the goal.
We have wonderful press operators though. So the positions we need to fill, they're very easy. Like it's not going to take much to put somebody in them.
That's cool.
Right. My other question was this quick survey. What does, how's 2022 starting for you guys? We are off to a fantastic fucking start. And so we killed, 2021's January, and with 2021's January was better than 2020's January. So this is a really good thing. So how about you guys?
We doubled last year's January was already. Yeah, and then I had more invoices that could have been in January, but they just didn't pop through until February. So February is also off to a good track already.
Dylan?
I just sold it all. I just live in Disney now.
Sweet. Can we come?
Yeah, we're going to join you.
You're welcome. I bought Disney World.
Yes.
That's impressive.
I want to stay in the castle.
That's fine.
Okay, cool.
We'll do a bibbity boppity boutique. We'll do your hair, dress, and everything.
Awesome. Perfect.
All right, you have some questions?
All right, I have some listener questions. As usual, most of them are complete garbage. People are asking about nudes and all kinds of stuff. So,
well, I mean, just let me know their DMs and I'll see what I can do for them.
Yeah, no problem. That's usually what I do after this. I hit them all up and I'm like, I don't have any of theirs, but I got plenty of my own.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
You're supposed to send me a sunset pic tonight.
Well, if there is one, right now I'm in Florida and it's been gray all day.
Sometimes that makes the best sunset if it opens up a little bit and those clouds.
I'll just hold a flashlight in the corner of my hotel room and I'll just drop it slowly.
That's I think that's the moon you're talking about.
We'll see. All right. We'll get this one going here. Christina Gibbons asks, Nikki, what color are you going to dye your hair for AC?
It's probably going to stay exactly the same, and I'm going to wear this owl hat.
Perfect. I'll be able to spot you in a crowd. Let's see. JMH Graphics asks, have you always been Team Rock, or what did you start with? Reasons for changing? Your reasons for changing because you studied rock, liked it, and you wanted the oval, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we just went with what made sense for our business. I mean, we're not really loyal to any one equipment manufacturer. It's just what made sense for us.
They also have good tech support for us. And I think you should always choose what you can easy and quick support in your area too. Yeah. You might not be able to get rocked in your area.
Okay. Mm-hmm. At that one shop asks, what area or process in your shop has been the most difficult to fix?
Oh man.
Both of you had a look on your face like, I'd rather not answer.
No, it's that's tough because we've just done so much. I mean, we're always willing to change.
Yeah. It's like our main focus recently has been automating, pulling out practices that can, be, done by a machine versus a human that could, not show up to work.
I think one of our current things too is we have two really good press operators. They come from two different shops and they do a fantastic job. Yeah. So we've been trying to, now that we're in a little bit slower, I mean, it's busy, but we're not, slam packed. We're trying to focus on making sure that everybody in the shop is on the same page and they do the exact same processes on press that the other person would do. Yeah, so I think that's one thing that we're focused on right now.
We've been working on
that's hard.
Cutting out as much time and waste as we possibly can with setups, and that's one of our biggest hurdles right now is setup times. I mean, even with the CTS and pre-registration and all that, I mean, we're seeing depending on the number of color setups, and we're seeing 5 to 45 minutes for a job. So we're trying to, peel as many of those minutes out as we possibly can so we can get into, doing more production whenever it gets, the time picks up. So
The Warehouse asks, LOL, ask Kyle when's the last time he's had a concussion.
Yeah, I was hanging out with Zach the other day. Yesterday actually. We got our auto reclaim unit in, and I had a piece of that fall on my head and give me a concussion.
This happens to you, it seems like a lot. Sort of stuff.
See,
no one else was here when he tried to do this.
I do a lot of really dumb things.
Do you have bad peripheral vision?
No, see what happened is company
here we go.
It was a long crate, and I had to uncrate it before we could get in through our loading dock. Or the loading dock garage.
It's always the truck driver's fault.
Yeah.
The craters.
Well, I'm seeing a pattern here.
This is definitely not the truck driver's fault. This was my fault. So I uncrated it, and they had the outfeed with the motor on it sitting on the very top of this machine. I mean, it's 6 feet tall. So I'm up there, I'm moving it off and whatever. And then it just takes one bad tilt and it literally hits me in the head right here. I was pouring blood from my head. I got driven like a nail.
This was yesterday?
No, this was like a month ago at this point. We got the reclaim unit in. No, I was hanging out with Zach yesterday. It hit me in the head, and I went into the bathroom and I looked at my pupils and they were fucking dilated. I'm like, damn, that was dumb. So that's the last time I had a concussion. A couple weeks ago, a month ago.
She chose to do this while everyone was out on lunch too. So nobody was even at the shop.
Yeah. It was very smart. Very smart.
Cool. Let's see. Matt at Relentless, I'm guessing it's either Matt or Nate, asks, wolves, and wolves. Who comes up with this band name, with band names like this?
It was literally the only band name left on a list of band names that were already taken. That wasn't taken. So we basically by default were called that band. And that's the band that I'm currently playing in. So
it's called what?
It's called Wolves and Wolves and Wolves and Wolves, or Wolves X4 for short.
X4. Let's see. That one's already taken. Scott at King Screen asks, what is one piece of equipment you regret buying and what would you have gotten instead?
We know that one. Our wide format printer for doing stickers and banners and stuff. It was the biggest piece of garbage. We used it for a little while, but the machine itself wasn't garbage. It was just a bad purchase.
It didn't suit our business.
Yeah, we were trying to break into something that we shouldn't have broken into, and it became more of a headache. Like it's still literally just sitting
It's up for sale.
You got it to
this biggest piece of garbage I've ever got. It's for sale now if anybody wants it.
The machine's not garbage. It's one of the best wide format printers out there. But we got it to do stickers and banners because we thought, we printed for a lot of people that need stickers. And we're like, hey, we'll do their stickers as well as their t-shirts. But when you can go on stickermule.com and buy stickers cheaper and get them faster than buying them locally, what are you going to choose? I mean,
I think I wish that we would have gotten the direct to screen.
Yeah, that would have been one of the things that I would have rather had.
That's what everybody should get sooner.
Yeah.
Literally what we do, and my people in customer service, we get asked all the time if we make stickers. I literally send them to Sticker Mule. I'm like, go to stickermule.com, buy your stickers.
I do that, or some customers they're not savvy with setting stuff like that up. So I'll be the middleman for it.
Yeah, like I'll take their artwork and just order it for them. Yeah, that's not a big deal. So I'll send them the file, and I'm just like, when it asks you to upload, just upload this file.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like if they're not savvy with stuff like that, I'll just middleman it. They're good customers for so many other things for us that it takes 2 seconds for me to take care of that for them.
Dilly, is that it?
That is it. Do you guys have any questions for us?
You do.
I was just going to ask you guys what you're doing with Shirt Show this year. What are your goals?
What's your big master plan for this year?
I don't know, Andy. What do we got?
Oh.
We were talking about doing an East Coast tour. We could stop by Machine Gun.
Yeah, anytime.
We've been talking about that for a while.
That would be fun. I though personally,
Kyle might jump in that car and go with you.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah, you won't be able to get rid of me.
I said Kyle might jump in the car and go with you.
He could polish gemstones in the back seat.
Yes.
Let's do it.
He's been wanting to do the same thing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We took all these detours going.
I would like to just, we could go up to Maine and then we'll just slowly drive down. If we want to stop somewhere and do something, we'll do it. And then we'll just get to Florida and fly home.
Cool.
There you go.
I would love that. I would love it for it to take like 3 months or something crazy long. So, no. I was going to say something. It was good.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, I had. This I had this one thing too. It was like gold. It was pure gold to talk about.
Thanks for the support, buddy. No, but you asked what the goals were, and so one of the things I want to do is I want to have some jingles for the shop, questions for us, shop hacks, quick takes, stuff like that. Which I used to. We sort of were testing out a while back, and then I bought this. What's it called? Whatever those things are, mixer things. Where you can just push a button and then it plays jingle. And so, but I haven't gotten around to it.
I want you to do that. I want you to make the jingle though. I want it to be like you humming or singing or like.
Who are you? Okay. Yeah. Are you talking to me or are you talking to
Kyle's
Kyle and Nikki?
Oh,
okay. Yeah.
Nikki's going to sing them and Kyle's going to do a little.
I'm going to just sound like an owl. Taking this form.
She's gonna be like, "Who, Scott? Question."
You would have to come up with a question, like a who question. I like it.
Good. It's good.
Are we on to quick takes?
Sure. Unless you got any shop hacks.
Any shop?
I mean, we were talking about it. It's like we don't really. her thing is she's got like business ideas.
I love
those. Are good. Yeah, I want to hear those.
Are my favorite.
I would just tell people, like, even if you're like a smaller shop, like we're only a 5-person shop. We only have 5 bodies inside of the shop. We're looking to add more this year.
Well, there's like 6 or 8, but they're not with us.
Yeah. But no, like my whole thing has been to try to automate and outsource as much as possible. So anything that takes stuff off of my plate, go do it. So if you don't already have a payroll company, if you don't have an accountant, like those are things that take time away from your day inside of your shop and keep you from focusing on building out your shop, do stuff like that. We go so far as to outsource all of our artwork services as well.
Don't forget about the greatest outsource of all, our phone service.
Oh, yes.
We don't answer phones anymore, which is fantastic.
We actually, we took on a phone service in October.
Yeah.
In October. And that alone takes up so much of your day, especially if you just don't really have a dedicated person to answer that phone.
So how does that work? Somebody calls the shop phone number, and then a human being answers it.
Yep, every single time. And right now we have it set up normal 9 to 5 hours. But if we ever wanted to have someone answering 24 hours a day, they would. Right now we have it set up to where they're just answering basic questions for those customers, taking a message. They email the message to me, and then I get back with that customer.
They'll even they've even patched phone calls in to my personal cell, to her personal cell, if it's a customer that we regularly deal with.
I don't know if I like this, but
well, if you're busy, you just don't answer it.
Yeah,
if I'm running around doing something and I look down and I see that phone number, I just don't answer it. And then they tell the person, hey, they seem to be out of the office right now. I'd be happy to take a message for you.
Yeah, I think it's better than not answering. That's for sure.
It is.
But
we did that for a little while, and it was really bad for us.
We stopped answering on phone for a while, just expecting people to leave voicemails. And they never left a voicemail. They would never send an email. We would leave a voicemail. Our voicemail box was like, hey, we're sorry we couldn't answer the phone. If you wanted to reach out, here's our email. Please send us an email. 9 times out of 10, we wouldn't get an email.
Yeah.
And
it's been really well received by our customers as well.
They like the fact that there's a person that's answering and not just
for sure,
a robot or whatever. So, and then we've got we use Graphic Source for all of our back end artwork stuff. So that took a lot off of my plate as far as because I was still doing separations up until a year ago when we got Graphic Source. So my Sundays were literally sitting at home in my recliner separating artwork for the week.
I think for us, we struggle in this area to find good staff. We live in an area that is full of graphic design firms and ad agencies. For us to try to hire somebody to do like separations and artwork, there's not really anybody around here that doesn't want to do that and not be freelance. There's not really somebody we can have in-house. So it's like, if there's anybody out there in a shop and you're having these types of issues, I would urge you to like look outside a little bit and say, what can I outsource?
But there's a couple different places out there that, that do the back end graphics for you. I mean, you just have to look and see what'll work for you. So,
right.
I mean, I was very apprehensive about it to begin with. I know I put up kind of a fight trying whenever she wanted to look into getting it. And I'm like, it's just, I don't see the use for it. But now, oh man, we couldn't have grown as much as we have in the last year without having them, because instead of me doing all of that all day, I could focus on doing the other things in the shop that needed
so much more production now.
I think part of your problem is you were doing the separations in your recliner.
Yeah,
probably.
Because I don't know how
you can do a lot of things in a recliner.
My separations were very good though. They were very good.
You literally would be in a recliner, like back up with doing in a laptop or something like that?
Not reclined all the way back, just my feet up, just so I could, have it be a little bit more comfortable. So
like 2 clicks.
Yeah. Just enough to where my back's not down. I'm
exactly
just,
2 clicks.
Exactly. Two clicks is a sweet spot.
3 clicks and then you're fall asleep.
3 clicks is you're in a sleepy zone. You don't want to do that. Right, I get it. I know. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
All right. Quick takes. Andy, you are first.
All right, guys. What's one thing you need every day?
Coffee.
What did we have from someone recently that was like, we'd never had that before? And it was fucking like, why did we not think of that? I know we talked to Josh last week and he said air.
Yeah, what did he say?
So.
Oh, air?
He said air.
He was getting deep with that shit.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Favorite snack?
I don't eat.
Okay, good answer.
She doesn't eat snacks.
Come on, fucking Cheez-Its or Reese's peanut butter cups or something.
Reese's peanut butter cups. I always, every time we buy snacks for the shop, regular for me.
Just regular for her. I eat the extra toasty ones because I like mine burnt.
My daughter recently, she loves Cheez-Its, and she went to the store because she likes the Tabasco Cheez-Its.
Those things are delicious.
Wow.
And she meant to grab a Tabasco, but she grabbed extra crispy, and she was like, "Get this! I don't want this shit. Get this extra." Like, it's at the house now, just like sitting in the corner. She's like, "I ain't eating that shit."
You can ship it to Kyle. He likes those.
Yeah.
Okay. It's open, so it might taste really good by the time you see.
That's fine. I mean, if it's stale, it's not a big deal. It's still good.
It's some air.
Cool.
Where is your happy place?
For me, it's the beach.
Digging in dirt. I like playing in dirt. So
you can elaborate
he likes
that
burying his leg in dirt underneath things.
I just like to dig holes. You know, there's apparently there's a new fad, and it's called hobby tunneling, I think is what it is. And there's a guy, he literally me and my buddy Dennis, our press operator, we were talking about the other day. He's like, you should really get into this. He's like, it sounds like something you'd like. It's literally, you just dig tunnels for fun. It's called hobby tunneling, I think is what it's called. I had
a little golden retriever puppy that did that too. But I was watching this thing today.
I was really hoping you would just ended it there.
I had like that totally didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I was watching this program this morning, and it was about this. It was about. I thought this was really genius marketing, and so there was this glass blower in Rhode Island, and in order to get more interest in like exposure to his business, he went and decided to do these little, I think they were like buoys or something, like he called them, like little glass balls, and he would hide them in this public park. And he would say, "Hey, guess what? There's 25 balls out there, and go find them." And so people would like go find them, and then it kind of caught on. And year after year, and now he does 500 a year, and he engraves a number of them that say, "Oh, this is one of whatever," you know. Yeah. And people from all over the world, I can't remember what they say. They said something like 1 million people come looking for these and collect them, and because it's. One person has been looking for 6 years and never got to find one. That sounds pretty crummy.
That's sad.
But a lot of people find them, and then they post, you can go register them or whatever on this website and say, "Hey, I found one of these glass balls." And so all this attention has come to his business because he gives away these free ones, you know, and everybody comes and tours his fucking shop and buys shit.
That's awesome. That's brilliant. Cool? Fucking brilliant. You got to spend money to make money.
Yeah, Andy.
I hope that's the name of this episode.
Fuck all you guys.
Got it. Justified.
All right, next question.
Yeah. I don't even want to. Do you think you have to spend money to make money?
Yes and no. Let's dive into this.
Don't pander to him. All right. Hold on. What was my real one? What shows are you guys watching right now?
I'm watching the reboot of Sex and the City.
I heard there's a lot of sex in it.
Not so much this time. They're all in their 50s at this point. So.
Oh, hell yeah. There's a niche for that.
We got to come out with the show Sex in the Country. I think it would be better. Yeah. Maybe it's called Yellowstone.
Yeah, I don't know. Might be. Yeah.
What are you watching?
Well, I just finished that the Archive 81 thing, which
that was good.
Dude,
I haven't finished it yet.
The ending of that, it will fuck you up because I was not ready for it to end. I had gotten so far into it and I paused it at 16 minutes left of the last episode, but I didn't know that it was the last episode. So I went and did a bunch of shit. And 3 days later, I come back to it with 16 minutes left of the season without even knowing it was what was left. And then I hit play and then it was over. I'm like, fuck.
Dude, the funny part is I really want to talk to you about something about this because when I watched it, I was like, well, fuck. God, how do I just say it without ruining anything?
Put a disclaimer.
Well, he would ruin it for
anyway. Fuck, I can't do it. I can't. I'll have to text you afterwards.
Yeah, you can text me later. It's fine.
Because I was like, they were just
No reason.
Dylan? All right, next question. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Yeah, sunset. I don't like being up early enough to see the sunrise.
I do,
but I'm always up early enough to see it. I just don't like being up.
I do, but I think a sunset's more beautiful.
Yeah.
I like that time of day better even.
Yeah. The golden hour. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Oh my God.
Oh, Jesus. What was I doing at 20? I don't remember. I was having too much fun.
I know, Kyle. I think you should give your answer should be don't fucking unload trucks ever.
Yeah. Don't unload trucks without a fucking lift gate. That was
besides that, what's your number 2?
Shit.
Buy a Flash.
don't use hamburger grills. Yeah, no, that's a good one. I mean, just stay focused on the task at hand. Because I mean, it would be one of those things where I would think too far about things in the future, trying to figure out where I was going and not actually paying attention to what was happening at the moment. So.
And can I answer for Nikki and then she can give her answer? I got it. Sure. Spend money to make money.
Spend money to make money. No. I mean, at 20, I was starting my retail career. So, I mean, I think I took a little bit longer than I should have to move forward in certain areas. And I think that I would tell myself to keep going on exactly what I was doing, not be so bogged down by other people telling me that I should be in college. I think I personally benefited greatly by not going down the first road.
Yeah. I think I don't really get into answering these questions, but I think that's a big one for me is definitely think about what you want to do with yourself before you just dive into college. I feel like so many people now, me having a business and like family members or whatever have their kids and whatever. And I've had it where they ask me like, what do you think I should do? You think, cause you have this successful business, whatever, what do you think I should do? I was like, don't fucking go.
Yeah.
Like, don't go.
Or if you want to do something like that. Don't know what you want
to do, don't go. Like if
the answer is different.
Doctor, you want to be a fucking whatever, something where you definitely need that degree to go.
I think go learn a trade. If you like it, then go with it. If you don't, and you're like, this isn't for me and I want to be in an office, let that decide if you should go to college.
Yeah.
I think that that answer is different for some people though, because if you have if you have a scholarship, let's say, or something, then
absolutely,
as long as you're not taking on a $50,000 a year debt type of thing. Yeah. But if you have a scholarship,
sometimes free ride.
Some jobs they need it for certain jobs. Yeah.
I think there's something to learn in college. My college was really writing intensive, and I learned I was a terrible writer. I couldn't express myself. I could barely express myself through words, speaking, still have a problem with that. But then also I could never really write well, like take my thoughts and then put them on paper. But the college I went to, it was like, it was really intense on writing. And so I learned, if anything, all those years, I learned how to write better, and so, I mean, there's stuff.
$100,000, whatever you paid for
I'm just saying that I think that's good advice. I think that, yes, there's a lot of other options, especially now. The trend is away from college. I get it.
Yeah.
But I think that for some people in certain circumstances, maybe it still is good, and especially if there's some sort of screen printing degree. Well, that'd be pretty cool.
I just think with a lot of things, and like I said, we all agree that it's like, if it's a special field, like, you go get a degree in that. Like if you want to be a fucking biologist, like whatever, but it's like, if there's any kind of thing that you're interested in, like art or, whatever, it's like, go learn from somebody, be an apprentice with somebody that like does that, or just be around those people. You will learn so much shit, especially like you were saying, Kyle, like you didn't have YouTube to figure shit out. Think about a kid now who just was like, I want to screen print. He can learn everything in a weekend.
Yeah.
Like,
that's awesome. Yeah.
Just fucking go look for shit or like find somebody to work with.
College is definitely 100% overrated.
Yep. So. All right, Andy, finish her off because I gotta run back to Magic Kingdom.
Well, yeah. So, guys, what is for dinner?
Maybe Mexican. We got a really good Mexican restaurant that we hit up. We haven't been there in a while, so either that or Thai food. What's that?
What Mexican?
What at the Mexican food?
As long as it has chicken, cheese, and rice for me.
That's all
ACP for her all day. the place here that we go to, they have really good quesadillas, the folded like dipping tacos. They're unreal. Made the short ribs and the cheese, and delicious.
We'll send you a picture later.
Do yourself a favor and order a Michelada.
Michelada.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a drink.
Okay.
It's good. I had my first one in Long Beach. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on. It was fun talking to you.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Love your hat.
Thanks for the 50 messages back and forth trying to figure out what time works.
That was all Dylan, not me.
It's all good. No worries.
I just wanted to do this. I wanted to see. I missed you guys. I wanted to.
It's been a while.
Hang out.
Well, you saw her last week, but haven't seen me since Long Beach.
I know. I just was like, I want to see these people. I want to not be with my family in Magic Kingdom. I want to be here in this hotel.
Yeah, that's where the magic is. It's right here.